We're live! Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, my name is Chun. It's time to have some fun with Host Pro 2.0. Since it was called 2.0, I'm keeping it at 2.0, and like my vignette, promo, debut, trailer, whatever you want to call it, aired, we are unraveling the mysteries of this world with a controversial episode with two highly controversial topics, I hope, which means it should be interesting. Controversy equals ratings, if you believe Eric Bischoff. And as with Tuesday, I have the man with me.
Yo, it's me, it's the B-I-double-G, rolling once again with the B-I-G-G-G. It's me, it's Marcus. I'm back for the second ever Host Pro episode of 2015, Host Pro 2.0. And yes, there are going to be some very interesting topics in this one, so stay tuned.
Yeah, definitely some interesting topics. And now that we're actually live, I can find a link and I can invite people to the stream, which is always a very important. Live now, Host Pro 2.0, Episode 2. And please mute it so I don't get an echo of me, the B-I-G-G-U-I.
You're the, what did I call you? What did I call you? The big, I can't remember. I'll get it back in a minute, I'll remember.
Prepare. I'm putting it in the link. Prepare for controversy. Because, and for those of you who are worried about it being another 3-hour episode, do not worry. Both of us are extremely tired. One of us wants to wake up really early in the morning, and one of us would like to go to bed sometime soon. So it won't be a 4-hour episode again, although that was quite a funny episode.
That was a very funny episode. I've rewatched it. It's actually got quite a few views since it last went out, and it's only been up for, what, 5 days? Not even that?
5 days and 48 views, yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Prepare for controversy. Right, that's it. The links are spread. The stream is active. We are ready for topic 1. And here, we're going to start straight off with the shotgun of controversy on this show. And that is drunken rape. That's why I'm calling this. Let me drop some backstory for our listeners. Yesterday, I read a story in the Daily Mail from an English barrister, 72. He's basically of Britain's legal service. And what he said was this, and this was a very interesting quote. He said that technically it can't be rape if the girl is drunk. And his defense is because it's hard to know if the girl was leading said guy on whilst she was in a drunken, not thinking straight mind, and the guy just chanced his arm. Which, needless to say, it will not surprise you that this has outraged quite a lot of people. His basic complaint is that the legal system in terms of rape cases, are highly geared towards women or the victim, and he's like, I want to see it a bit fairer.
That's a very wow, that's a difficult one.
Yeah, I know. Controversy, right?
Yeah, that's going to divide quite a lot of people, and rightfully so. So it should. Okay, how do you want to approach this? Because I'm worried that we're going to piss off a lot of people on the internet with some of our responses.
Well, this is what I mean. This is why I kind of did the Wyatt-style promo, because we can kind of get away with stuff like that. Because in my mind, with the Wyatt stuff promo, we can get controversial. We are, you know what we are? We are those guys that help you unravel the labyrinths and the mysteries of your own mind. Yeah. I've dropped that quote on you, and that's why I'm wearing a fedora, by the way, because it's Wyatt.
And some ridiculously high-placed headphones as well.
And obviously, because the headphones don't fit over the fedora, that's why you're sporting a highly stupid, ridiculous look. And I'm going to discuss a very serious topic looking like this. So yeah, you can make of that what you want.
Take your own interpretations from that.
Yeah, I am open to your interpretation.
Oh, we have a guest, Big Nate.
Hello.
Holy shit! Is Nath actually there?
Nathan's just come back.
Oh, nice hat.
Oh my god! It's him!
Why aren't the headphones on your ears?
This was exactly my question.
Because, well, let me explain it to you like this, Nath. I did a promo like a wrestler who wears a fedora. And I was going to wear the fedora for this episode, and when I put the fedora on, I realised I couldn't fit the headphones over the hat, and so I just put them up here instead for...
Yeah, all of that basically meant nothing to Nathan because he can't actually hear you because I have the headphones on. But yeah, there is a genuine reason, I assure you.
Okay, I'll watch the video when you tell me.
Thanks for your contribution.
That's alright.
Thank you for giving up on that. Okay, right, I was about to start talking about it. Right, okay, so I think what the bloke is saying... I'm on the fence. In some ways, what he says has an air of validity about it. And let me put it like this. Okay, sometimes you see... I have heard of cases in the past, when I was doing journalism training, of girls calling rape 5 days after the whole thing happened. Oh, and guess what? They were drunk and in a bar and had sex in a public toilet. That kind of story, right? Yeah, glamorous, lovely, romance. Who said romance is dead, right? However, they then call rape. It's like, was it really rape, though? You're off your face. Some guy is coming on to you because you're attractive. You, like I say, you're off your face. You're not thinking straight. And maybe you think, in your drunken state, that's kind of cute. Let's go for it. That's not rape. But at the same time, what this barrister said, like, if she's drunk, it can't possibly be rape. Well, again, that's complete bollocks as well, because let's say hypothetically speaking, now stick with me, I were to hide in a dark alley near a pub or a bar. Yeah, I can see. I were to hide in a dark alley in a pub with, how's it called? Chloroform.
Wait a minute, you're going to hide in a dark alley in a pub? Is that even possible?
I don't know. I'm hiding in a dark alley near a pub, waiting for kick-out time because there's going to be a lot of shit-faced people coming out of that pub. I've got a handkerchief full of chloroform. I see an attractive girl, and I'm like, she'll do. Chloroform her, rape her. That's rape. That's still rape because she didn't consent to that. Doesn't matter if she's drunk. That's still rape.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, I'm on the fence because it's. You can see it from both sides. I mean, the way he said it when he says that all people that cry rape cases when they're drunk isn't rape, that's a bit extreme because if you force yourself, and by the way, it's still law, this is actually the law, if you buy somebody a drink with the intention to have sex with them, whether it's consensual or not, that is against the law. And I remember being told that when I was younger. That is against the law. If someone comes up to you and goes, oh, do you want to buy me a drink? And you go, yeah, sure, and you buy them a couple of drinks, and then you go home and have sex with them, technically you've broken the law. That is actually a law. But the thing is, well, I mean, we've all been in that state where we've been so drunk, we have no idea what we've done, where we've gone, who we've done it with, and everything else. From that standpoint, being drunk is, yeah, you can't really call rape if you can't remember it. I mean, that sounds pretty bad, but I mean, just to explain, it's like I say you can't call it. I mean, technically you could. I mean, that's what I mean. It's such an on the fence thing because if you've been that steaming drunk before and you've had like maybe you brought some guys back to, or you've gone back to a guy's house, whatever. I'm talking from a woman's perspective. And you've all been sitting around and some guy just says to you, hey, do you fancy having sex? And if you're drunk and you just kind of go, yeah, whatever, it's better than sitting here doing nothing, whatever. Obviously, that can't be classed as rape because you've just said, yeah, okay. It's different if the guy has forced himself upon you because that is not consensual. However, when you're drunk, if you're that steaming drunk and you can't remember it, that's where it becomes very myriad, where you're not sure what actually happened. So I don't agree with what he said entirely, but I agree with some of what he said partially, if that makes sense. I mean, I can understand that, yeah, like you said, girls, they will try and play the rape card. I'm not saying every girl does, I'm just saying some people have. And I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a very difficult one because generally in these cases, and I mean, I actually support where he's coming from to a standpoint where it should be more fair for men that get put into these situations that just think, I mean, being a man and everything, you know, if you're offered sex, consensual sex, you're not going to turn it down unless obviously you're in a relationship or, you know, whatever reason. But if you're offered it and you're both single and you're both consenting, then obviously you're going to go straight away with it. And that's the same thing for women, basically. That happens with women as well. They can, do it to men, whatever. But saying that every single case when drunk isn't rape, I don't agree with that fully, to be fair.
Yeah. You've basically explained in quite great detail everything that I thought about this case, about this whole story. And the thing is, you're now in a situation where the legal system has to try and determine whether or not the girl was drunk and actually did consent, or whether or not she's just saying that she didn't because she couldn't remember and regrets it.
Exactly, and that's the point as well. It's because
and that's a very tough line to draw, because obviously she could be drunk and say no.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, in every sort of single, I say every single situation, in almost every situation where a man and a woman have had consensual sex, or even non-consensual sex, whatever. I mean, if you've had non-consensual sex and you get accused of rape, then you're a rapist. There's nothing, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But if it is consensual and then the girl suddenly cries rape, generally people are going to side with the girl because they still have this 1930s and 40s vision of, oh, well, a man's always stronger than a woman, and if he can force himself on this poor girl was innocent, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at the trends and how everything has changed in the last maybe, 30 years or so, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say this, and I'm going to get a lot of hate from a lot of women for saying this, but at the same time, I have seen women on nights out that behave a lot more animalistic than men do. And I mean that genuinely. I have seen, well, they call them ladettes now. I have seen girls that have just
I'm going to take some of the heat off you, and I say, I'm going to take some of the heat off you as well and share that. I have seen that happening, yeah.
It does happen. I mean, I've seen the trend with women lately. They're still in this mindset of, a man's bigger, a man's stronger, and if he touches me, it's classed as rape and stuff. But I've seen women before literally go up to men in clubs or public places, not even necessarily drunk, and just instantly go ahead and, grab him by the dick and, try and pull his shirt up, and their hands are all over him. If he goes out there and cries rape, everyone's going to just laugh at him and say, oh, that's bullshit. Obviously, it's like, yeah, but if you're being inappropriately touched, whether you're a man or a woman, from either or opposite sex, that's still classed as non-consensual touch, rape, whatever way you want to look at it. So, again, this is a very, very hard thing to do. I'm kind of half with him and half against what he says. I don't really know what way to go with this. There's no right or wrong answer, I don't think.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. And I mean, on the point of the dads, as we call them, I did see it in Bournemouth. I went out on a night out. I can't remember if it was my first or second year. It must have been my first year. I didn't go out so much in the second year, but I wasn't even at a nightclub. It was sort of outside, and everybody was sort of drunken, staggering around. You know the picture, right?
As you do, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I saw it once where now the guy didn't even touch her. Didn't touch her. Okay, there was there's a body width, a space between them. She wheels around, said, "Oi, you disgusting pervert," and kicked him in the nuts. I was like, I wasn't drunk, and I remember that. That's the kind of thing. And then she started kicking him when I was on the floor. So,
well, I mean, how can you justify that? How is that justified?
Like, how can you determine whether or not a rape cry is valid when you have behaviour like that going on? And then, because we also live in the other problem we have is that we live in a sue culture right now. It started in America and it's spread to England, where any minor thing you can sue, and it's not helped by the court's no win, no fee, basis. So they can take on, but then again, they can take on whatever case they want to if they think it's valid at that point, I suppose. But we have this sue culture. So if a girl thinks, oh, technically this did happen, I don't remember it, it might be rape, I could try and sue, and you could try and get some money like that. But then again, that's a very dodgy area, of course. I mean, that's calculated, so I don't think that's necessarily worth going into any further than just saying it's a possibility. But the issue is, how do you prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it was rape? I mean, I can see if the girl is in straight frame of mind, hasn't had a bit of drink, no drugs, no nothing, then it's pretty reasonable to assume she may not be making this up. You know, it's not it's that I'm not in doubt. When you're drunk, it's kind of like, did you do something to incite this or whatever? Did you actually offer consent? And it's like the court has to try and find out, well, did you unwittingly and unmeaningly offer consent? And if you did, then, like you said, there's not many guys on this planet who are going to say no.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, as well, is I'll go out on a limb and say it. Generally, when you drink, especially if you drink in vast amounts, we all know that lowers your inhibitions, raises your sexual confidence levels, and, you know, generally, you get horny. You do when you drink. I mean, some people do, some people don't, but the vast majority of people, they do get horny, and they think, okay, well, you know, if we sat down here and there's a guy and a girl, and we could be having sex, why not just do it? You know, that kind of thing happens all the time. But then for somebody to go and cry rape about it, no, I don't agree with that whatsoever. So I think there's a responsibility on both parties' parts. You know, but the way, like I said, you go back to the way you look at it, think, oh, well, women don't rape men. There are a lot of cases of women raping men that have just been thrown out of court because people say, oh, well, how can a woman rape you? How's that statutory rape? Men have been touched and have been forced into sex with women that they don't want. I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but it's true. So, I mean, where do you draw the line here? Is there a line to draw? Have we already crossed it? Or we haven't approached it yet? I mean, what happens?
I think we've actually crossed it, but nobody's addressed it. That's where I think we're at with that. But as for the courts, now they've got an actual barrister saying if you're drunk, it's not rape. Well, first of all, with anything, there have to be certain conditions met. First one you want to try and find out is, well, setting, scenario. Is this girl at a party, or is she just like, is it like a party at a mate's house where you're drunk? Because a lot of people have been there, they've gone to a friend's birthday party, lots of drinks happening. We've all seen movies from scenes from American Pie. That shit does actually happen in real life. That's not completely made up in movies. Likelihood, not going to be rape. If you're at a bar and the last thing you remember was leaving the bar, and you're still drunk, but you're not drunk enough to completely forget everything, and the last thing you remember was leaving the bar, and then all of a sudden you blank out, and then you wake up somewhere where you don't recognize with the guy. Very high chance of rape, and it's a question of scenario as to whether or not a court can actually decide in case of the rape, because that's where I think it's going to become difficult. I think that's where the line is going to be drawn, and it's going to be in the courts, because I don't think anybody is going to tackle the issue until it comes up in court, where somebody is called rape.
Like, going back to that case as well, they're saying, like, having sex in a public toilet and you know it was rape and something. I mean, if it's a public toilet, unless it was in a completely secluded area and she was dragged there, are you telling me not one person saw what happened? There must have been somebody there.
There's bound to be witnesses.
Or CCTV, or, you know, eyewitness reports. I mean, generally outside of nightclubs in bigger cities, and well, even in small towns like down this way. I mean, I've seen it before where you stumble out of a club and there's like police littered on every single corner, checking that everything's okay. Are you telling me not one policeman saw something? Not, you know, I mean, if he was dragging her off and forcing her against something, surely somebody would have seen something, unless it happened. But again, unless it happened after they were in, you know, maybe in a dark area or something. This is where it's hard to determine what happened. But I'm still thinking there must be some way or form of some kind of evidence or witness, or there must be something there. I mean, you know, you can't just... Yeah. It would take someone very calculated to leave absolutely no trace of whatsoever, make sure there were no witnesses and everything else. It would have to have been planned. Yeah, well, not a professional, but I don't think... Do you get professional rapists? I don't know.
You probably get people who do it a lot, who probably would be quite, you know, tuned into that shit, but I don't know.
You know, that's where you have to draw the line. I mean, I don't know that's why I would hate to be on a jury standpoint from this, because I mean, surely building up a character profile of that person as well would help you slightly ascertain what kind of, whether they would be inclined to do that, or, not saying she was, but let's just say the girl was known to be promiscuous, or, sexually confident, or if the guy's known to be a bit aggressive, or, has been in trouble before. You can't judge a person until you know the facts. I understand that, but there must be some way of ascertaining whether this is true or not. But I honestly don't know. This is one that I'm not going to touch with a barge pole, because I have no idea.
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. We've had a bit of a discussion about it now. We've put a couple of different viewpoints out in the air, and that's what I wanted to do with this one, because it's a very interesting case that came up in the newspaper because of what was said and the way in which it was said, and a number of people are outraged. I think this one is one you're going to have to draw a line under and wait until something official happens in a court like that, and an official court decision is made in either way, and then you'll have to take it from there, because you'll have to wait until there's a legal situation and it's being dealt with either way. You can't really make too much comment. I mean, the thing is, you would hope. It depends. Until there's an actual case in court that meets our sort of one criteria or the other, it's hard to say how this is going to go. And until then, I think you have to really just. I think it's going to be a watch this space one, isn't it?
Yeah, you just have to basically wait and see what happens. That's all you can do. I mean, the thing is, the old justice system as well, and I mean, I agree with it to a certain point, is you are innocent until proven guilty. So,
yeah,
who knows what's going to happen with that? But that's one to keep an eye on, definitely, and see what interesting backlash and developments comes from all of that, basically.
Yeah, I'm tempted to get out a pen and just say draw a line under that one and see what happens later on. One which though, and we're going, by the way, from controversy to controversy. Like I said, this is a controversial episode of Host Pro. We started controversially with drunken rape. We're now going to continue to a much discussed controversy, but one I've never personally discussed in Host Pro, and it's one that, after close to 50 episodes of Host Pro, now needs to be discussed, and it's the legalization of weed. Because now the thing with weed is, right, it's not like cocaine. It's natural. It's scientifically proven to have health benefits, and it's also a drug which is treated extremely liberally in mainstream media. Like, for instance, you have I think she's Swedish, artist called Tovlo, who made a whole song about staying high all the time, so forget she's missing a loved one, and she says that's a song written from personal experience. So, I mean, obviously you can't arrest her now because she's clean, but
kind of late now, but
I mean, she's come out the other side, and she's a high-end musician, and she's basically confessed to smoking a shitload of weed. It's like, what kind of message does that send out to other people? Probably, weed ain't too bad, maybe give this a try, but it's still illegal, which means if the police find you with it, they can still technically charge you for it.
Yeah, prosecution. Now the thing is, I am a very big supporter in a lot of ways on the legalized marijuana campaigns. I'm going to delve into a little bit of history here, so you may have to interject at some point. We said this was going to be a short one, but now I've started babbling. We'll probably end up being here till about probably next Wednesday. But okay, I'll try and keep it short. Basically, with weed or hemp, whatever you want to call it, which is its technical name, hemp, it's a plant. It's an organic compound which grows from a seed that you plant in a ground. It's fed by sunlight, rainwater, and if people are going to harvest it, it's fed by nitrogen and a couple of other plant feed, general plant feed that you can buy from any sort of gardening store. The thing is, if it's classified as a drug, marijuana itself is the only drug, and I use that term very loosely, drug, that has 60 to 90 different medicinal qualities. Nobody has ever overdosed on marijuana. Nobody has ever had any side effects or anything detrimental to their health from smoking pure marijuana. in its purest form, because THC itself is an active compound that actually promotes, it's basically just full of the good stuff. It promotes muscle repair, it helps fight cancer cells, it helps cells to regenerate, it's a stress reducer, inhibitor, whatever. You know, it does basically all this amazing stuff, and the only reason it's illegalized, and I believe this, is because the medicine industry is booming. How many people every day, every hour, I should say, go into a shop and buy paracetamol, ibuprofen, aspirin, you know, cough medicine, you know, all this sort of stuff. Everything that marijuana can heal is treated by medicine. And medicine is a very, very expensive and profit-gaining industry. That is where you draw a hell of a lot of money. You can produce chemicals and compounds in a lab that you can then sell on for a cheap price. I mean, you can manufacture a case of paracetamol, and I mean, in an expensive shop, you can pay £1 for 16 tablets of paracetamol. That thing probably costs something like 0.0003 pence to manufacture. The actual plastic and the packaging and the paper and the name is the stuff that you're paying for. That's why it's so expensive. It's the same with alcohol. Alcohol is, and I'll get on to alcohol in a second, alcohol, you pay for the label. Lager in a can costs about 3 pence to make, because the main ingredients are water, barley, sugar, and yeast. That's the only thing you need to make alcohol. And yet you can go into a shop and you have to pay up to £2-3 for 1 can of lager, depending on the strength of the lager. And going back to the marijuana thing, how many people have been on a night out or have been in a situation with alcohol that have choked on their own vomit? How many people with alcohol have fallen off the edge of a bridge?
Mentioning, actually.
Yeah. How many people have had violent altercations with people because of alcohol and ended up in hospital? How many people have done things that they regret with alcohol, going back to the rape thing, you know? Marijuana doesn't do any of that. It has no detrimental health side effects whatsoever. Marijuana, THC itself in its purest form, hemp oil, can actually kill cancer cells. It can destroy cancer in the body. Instead, they say to you, to treat cancer, you need to go to chemotherapy, which is essentially radiation and microwaves being emitted into your body to try and kill cells that will eventually just regenerate, and then you have to go through a treatment again. And the reason being is because it's a big fucking money cash cow, because you have to pay for that stuff. It's not free. It has to be paid for. Whether it's on the NHS and it's free, well, the taxpayer pays for that. Whether you go private and you pay your own money, you have to pay for that. You lose your hair, you lose your energy, you take 40 or 50 tablets a day to try and feel better and get better, only for it to come back and you have to go for another phase of it, another phase of it, another phase of it. I think it was something like 500 mils of cannabis oil intravenously fed over the course of 6 months. Cancer will be gone from your body. It will be destroyed and it will not be coming back. So the only reason as well that marijuana was illegalized is because hemp is a natural product. You can grow it, you can harvest it, and you can sustain it. You can make paper, you can make clothing, you can make concrete out of it, hempcrete, which is actually stronger than regular concrete as well, may I add. There's so much stuff you can do with it, and it's illegal. Why?
Yeah,
you tell me why.
That's the thing. It doesn't make any practical sense at all, really. And particularly after it is a scientific, government-funded research that found this, everything you just told us about cancer and all of this type of thing, healing and staying gone, everything you just told us was discovered by government-funded research. I want to point that out to people, government-funded research, so it's as official as you can get. So basically, and then but they still make it illegal, which makes me wonder, okay, maybe if you're not going to let people just buy it on shelves, why not still just use it medicinally? I don't understand that. Why not just still use it medicinally? I mean, the thing is, like you say, I cannot think of an individual case in the newspapers in as long as I can remember of anybody suffering from going psychotic, beating their wife in a state where they knew not what they were doing. I saw no cases of fights in the streets because people were fighting because they were high. I've found no cases of people having to be admitted to hospital because, like you say, they've had too much weed. You don't hear about it. And yet, I will say that I think weed is more common than people know as well. I think there's people out there who smoke weed who you wouldn't know, and you just wouldn't know about it, because if they're not high at the time, you would not know. And yet I meet people in our place of work who drink a lot, and you can tell they drink a lot. They just have raspy voices, they just look downtrodden and just sunken, and you can tell that alcohol is having a disastrous effect on their lives. Yet alcohol's legal, weed isn't. And and like you say, I don't understand that, because you hear stories all the time of drunken people being admitted to A&E because they're in no fit state to look after themselves. No fit state. And it's like, it's wasting so much of our A&E resources, just treating drunk people who are there for the night and gone when they sober up.
And the worst thing is, the next weekend they'll go and do it all again.
And they'll do it all again. Yeah, exactly. And it just keeps on happening, and it keeps on an endless cycle. And like you say, I've seen stories in the newspaper of people choking on their own vomit and dying because of alcohol. Alcohol poisoning as well. That's another one, big one. You know, all of these things that excessive consumption of alcohol can cause, that we just doesn't. It just doesn't do that. And plus, it has actual practical benefits, like you mentioned. And I'm just thinking, if I'm a producer of medicine right now, let's say I'm somebody who produces paracetamol and ibuprofen, yes, I completely understand why I wouldn't want weed to be legal, because of all of these things that it can help, that my medicine also helps, which I'm not going to lie, if you have a headache, paracetamol does work, depending on severity. If you have a really bad headache, which is caused by just not drinking any water for a whole day, it's not going to help you do jack shit, because that's your fault for not drinking any water. That's a different point. Because weed wouldn't help you with that either. Is that smudge?
That is smudge.
It is. I can see it is. Hey, smuggers.
Hello, smuggers. Hello, buddy.
Regular on UPW and Host Pro now. Where was I? Yeah, and I'm thinking, let's just assume, hypothetically, weed does get made legal. If you are a producer of medicine and you know weed has medicinal purposes, you could just produce tablets of weed for medicine. You could. Nothing wrong with that. Probably no more expensive than paracetamol and all that. I mean, even in that sense, even if you're one of those medicine companies trying to keep it illegal for your own profits, you could just easily make tablets with weed in it, and your profits are still going to be the same. And plus, you can have weed for recreational purposes, like they do in Amsterdam, isn't it?
Yes, I was going to get on to Amsterdam, but
Yes.
quickly
No,
going back
let's
to the it's a drug and everything else. If you smoke a cigarette that has marijuana and tobacco in it, the only thing that's addictive about that is the tobacco. You cannot be addicted to weed. I'm sick and tired of people saying, oh, well, the weed made me do it. It's because I'm on weed that I do these stupid things. No, you're looking for an excuse to justify your idiotic behavior. That's the only reason you're looking for that. And then people say, oh, marijuana's evil. It's made my son do all this shit. And it's like, no, it fucking doesn't. It doesn't do anything like that. Alcohol will do that to you. Cocaine will do that to you. Heroin will do that to you. Meth will do that to you. Ease will do that to you. Marijuana is a renewable and cheap substance that can be used for so much stuff, and they won't do it because it's not profitable. That's the only reason, because if you bulk buy chemicals to manufacture paracetamol, that's a lot of fucking money you have to pay out in bulk to buy those ingredients. Marijuana seeds, you can buy those off the internet for £3 a seed, and you can get one whole plant from that. Imagine what that plant could treat and what it could do. You could basically build a house off about 6 cannabis plants if you made it into hempcrete, which is stronger, by the way, and stands the test of time, a lot better than concrete. And because builders primarily use concrete because it's more expensive, therefore they can charge more, which, by the way, concrete is bullshit because I have cracks in my wall. It doesn't sustain the test of time. It's an absolute fucking waste of money and investment, but whatever. Maybe I'm just bitter about that, but there's just so much you can do with it. But anyway, getting on to Amsterdam and Holland and Denmark and all these places, you have a look at the crime rate at Holland and Denmark compared to the UK, compared to the USA, compared to any mainstream EU country or anything like that. Denmark, I think, has been listed as having the lowest crime rate of any country anywhere. And that's because you can go anywhere and you can smoke marijuana when and how you choose. And the thing is, you have to pay for it. So it's not like it's free. You actually have to pay. And if you choose to do it, go ahead. That's what I say. There is hardly any crime in Denmark whatsoever. The only reason there's crime is because of the legalization of alcohol over there, which was sometime in the 1900s. I can't remember exactly when it was. But yeah, you go over to Denmark or Amsterdam, even if you don't want to partake in smoking it, that's your choice. If you want to go over there just for that, go ahead, whatever. You meet and talk to some of the people out there. They're the most chilled out, respectful, law-abiding citizens that you will ever meet in your life. And then you come over to England and you meet some of the people we have on the streets here. You're afraid to walk down the street for fear of getting stabbed or mugged or anything like that. Mainly because they're under the influence of heroin, cocaine, alcohol, and it's just a big vicious cycle. The main reason they don't legalize it is for profit. That's the only reason they don't do it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And plus, if you meet people in England, they're also some of the most miserable fuckers you could ever meet. That's also true.
Here's one right here.
The thing I find with Denmark is, as well, like you say, lowest crime rate of anybody. And think how much money though you could save. The comment tracker does work. That's interesting. I left a comment on the stream on YouTube.
Yeah.
Saying people leave your comments for us to address in the stream. If we see it, we'll give you a shout out. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. And it's just popped up in my comment tracker. So if we get comments, I can respond. So if you're watching, you can interact with us, and that's going to be awesome. And it's just popped up twice. Okay, that's cool. Anyway, yes, back to Denmark. The thing is, those police officers have so much more time to actually focus their efforts on doing something worthwhile. Like here in the UK and in America, if you watch the TV show Cops, which is on CBS Reality over here in the UK, I think it's on more mainstream channels in America. But if you watch that show, the number of people they're pulling over for possession of marijuana and in fact, it's mostly heroin actually on that show, but there are ones where they pull them over for weed and they have to do something about that, and that's taking up police officers' time and resources over something which really isn't that harmful. As we've already established, it's less harmful than alcohol, and they are basically having to deal with that. That's officers' time, that's taxpayers' money going into enforcing this law about weed, and it's pointless. I mean, if you legalize weed, and it is legal, I think, in some states in America, then your police officers, have much more time available on their hands to deal with something actually worth policing. Like when it comes to stuff like crystal meth, like synthetic drugs, what we will call them, any kind of synthetic drug, I completely understand why that's illegal. It is proven to have some very serious side effects, like heroin can cause psychosis and stuff. That's actually proven, as I understand it. But like I say, marijuana hasn't. But you could just free up so much more of the police officers' time just enforcing laws that are actually worth enforcing. Just any kind of crime, any kind of violent crime. If you have an officer tied up sorting out a case of possession of marijuana, there could be a violent crime happening in the streets, and he can't do anything about it because he has to deal with this guy with marijuana, and let's say that, and plus he'll just save so much money on public sector resources as well. So governments could cut spending. The number of benefits outweighs the number of you weigh pros and cons of legalizing marijuana, and if you actually do your research, as I have done over this last week, because I was sort of hoping to do it on this topic, as I alluded to in the promo, unraveling the mysteries of the world. If you actually do your research, and Marcus knows a lot more about it than I do. I think he's been on this a lot longer than I have. Let's just say. Everything that you will find, everything Marcus told you is not people who smoke just trying desperately to get it legal. It's true. It's all true. It just makes no sense to keep it illegal because it makes more sense to In fact, I reckon you'd probably have a much happier population if you were to make alcohol illegal and legalize weed. So everybody who drinks a copious amounts of alcohol and starts smoking weed, it would be better because there'd be less problems with health. And plus, weed is just one of those things which how do you define being high? I just guess being chilled and happy, mellowed out, really.
Yeah.
That's better than being drunk.
Yes, being drunk makes you aggressive. Being drunk leads to rape cases. Drink driving, drink violence and aggression. Drink leads to depression. It leads to anxiety. It leads to paranoia, panic attacks, everything like that. And people as well that say that I smoke weed and I get paranoid. No, you don't. You do not. You're looking for a reason to
You're probably just a naturally paranoid person, if that.
Yeah. If you're paranoid, don't smoke it because you're only going to get more paranoid. You think, oh, the drug's doing bad to me. And by the way, anyone that says it's a gateway drug, you really have no education on the subject whatsoever. Anyone that's out there going, it's a gateway to heroin, it's a gateway to cocaine, blah, 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 because people want to try it and get more high. No, it's fucking not. That's a complete fallacy. Do not try and fucking pull that one on me. That's complete bullshit. Again, the only reason it's illegal is because they don't want to lose their profits in the medicine business. That's the only reason it's illegal. And because you would lose so much money once they see the benefits of, hempcrete, that's cheaper to make and it's more sustainable. We can make paper from hemp because it's easy to grow. We can make clothing from hemp because it's more durable and it's stronger. We can make, you can make so much stuff with it, and people are just, no, it's a drug, and I'll never agree with it, blah, blah, blah. Get your head out of your ass and actually do your fucking research, okay?
Yeah, the way I think we can easily underline that whole argument is it's as much a drug as cumin is. Yeah, and cumin is, for those of you who don't know, it's a herb and a spice.
Yeah, you're more likely to get more goofy.
It grows out of the ground. It's a natural thing, and people like to say, oh, we buy farm fresh because it's all natural, because it's better for you. Weed is natural. No, that's bad for you. Wait, really? It's not poisonous. It's not like a poison fungi.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, generally anything that grows in the ground is going to be good for you. The amount of people that buy GM modified crops and the amount of preservatives that are in food and that's worse for you when you tuck it into your steak on a Sunday than rolling up and smoking a doobie. It really is. There's so many chemicals, and you think all the chemicals that go into paracetamol, aspirin, ibuprofen, all these drugs and everything, is ingesting laboratory-made chemicals into your system actually good for you? I'm not doubting the health benefits of, like you said, you have a headache, you take paracetamol, it goes away. Fine. Ibuprofen for,
paracetamol is fair to say it's harmless in small doses. There's a law that you can't sell more than 2. There is a law that says you cannot buy more than 2 packets of it at a checkout, because there's a reason for that, because overdosing on paracetamol can be dangerous.
Exactly. A man-made drug that you can overdose on, you can't overdose on marijuana. You can't do it. It's impossible. It would take, I think there was a study years ago, apparently to cause an overdose of marijuana, you would have to ingest something like, I think it was something like maybe 9 pounds of the stuff. Now, 9 pounds in weight, you're talking what?
That's a lot.
If there's 2 small bags of sugar in a pound,
that's basically a whole plate of food, basically.
Oh no, it's even more than that. That's the thing. So it's impossible. You cannot do it. So again, the only reason it's illegal is money. That's the only reason it's illegal. That's what everything boils down to in life, is money. That's all it is.
I just wanted to see what comes up on the internet actually on overdosing of marijuana.
Do a Google search and then just see if there's been any case.
The first thing that pops up, drug facts chat day, marijuana, NDIA for teens, and in the first line of this, can someone overdose on marijuana? I'm not, fuck this. I'm doing screen tests so that people can see, screen share so people can see this as well. because let's just prove this. There it is. It's right there. Can someone overdose on marijuana? This is the first link that popped up on my Google. If you mean can they overdose and die from marijuana, the answer is no. There it is.
There you go. There you go.
Not making this shit up. It's genuine what we're saying here.
I can't say, I'm not saying that the internet is a reliable source for information, but it's the most...
If it's the first thing that pops up on Google and it's not Wikipedia, then it's probably pretty okay.
Exactly, and that's the thing. You go to any forum whatsoever, you cannot overdose on marijuana. It's impossible.
Yeah, and I think now, as a final testament to this topic, I will confess I was on the other side of the fence. I used to be absolutely 100% it should be illegal. I want to make that clear. I used to think that. However, and this is where I'm going to admit something, staff party at Christmas, I had some. I'm no different now than before.
Exactly. I mean, do you so after taking that, did you want to instantly go out and kill somebody, or think, oh, that guy's looking at me wrong, I'm going to smash his face in?
Nope.
Exactly. There you go.
Here's the thing. I smoked more since then. Not much more since then, but I have. No problem.
Yeah.
Nothing. Absolutely. Number of side effects? Zilch.
There you go.
I get ill less now, although I haven't gone long enough since to actually really have a fair test of that. But if anything, I get ill less now.
Yeah.
I suffer from less headaches. And all these types of things. It's just, and that's why I thought we should do this topic, because I was somebody who was very, very rigid in saying, well, it's illegal for a reason. And now I'm on the side, after a bit of personal experience, I have found that there's just no reason.
Yeah.
And I think
totally different.
That is the best.
If you had done, hypothetically, let's say cocaine, you would have had a completely different experience. If you had woken up at any decent time of the day the next day, you would have felt like absolute shit. You would have felt like somebody had hit you with a sledgehammer. And that's the thing. You didn't feel that at all. And I mean, like I said, I will confess to it as well. I have in the past partook of marijuana smoking. No side effects. I didn't want to go out and kill somebody. I didn't think to myself, oh, I hate the world, everything's bad, this stuff is making me so aggressive, I'm going to go out and try and rape somebody, blah, blah, blah. We're talking from personal experience. And we're going to get criticised for that, and I wouldn't be surprised if at some point, if somebody shows this to the police or something, oh my god, they smoked drugs at one time or another. Fucking get over yourself, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, it was in the past.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this right now, this is nicotine. This is what I'm smoking. It's nothing illegal.
Yes.
This is more detrimental to my health, and I'm not encouraging smoking to anybody, by the way. Smoking is a very disgusting habit. I advise that nobody takes it up whatsoever. But how are you going to know these things unless you try them? That's my main point. I'm all about taking chances. You have to experience things to understand them fully. You have to do these things. It applies to everything in life. People that say, oh, I'll never go on a bungee jump or a skydive because it's dangerous. How do you know? Have you ever been on one? Have you ever experienced one? There's so many different things that you can, but it's just bullshit. So many people get so butthurt over the smallest thing. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think I think we basically said all we can say about it now, in fairness, and getting on a bit now at the podcast. Mm-hmm. I wonder if we should move on, because I think this is going to be another interesting topic. The order that I've got written. For those of you who think that Host Pro is just something random that I throw together, look, I've got stuff from my production meeting. It's folding over. Look, I've got notes. I've got production notes.
He actually has a list.
I have production notes. This is an official show, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah, you don't do things by halves. If you're going to do it properly.
Exactly, right? This is host pro. This isn't unprofessional wrestling where it's meant to be kind of a bit shit. This is professional broadcast journalism. So the next topic on the production sheets on the running list are the top 3 things you would do to save WCW. So the scenario is this: it's the year 2000. Your ratings fucking suck compared to the WWF's 7 or 8 ratings, whatever they're drawing. Something ridiculous like that. It was huge. And you're only drawing 3.2, which, by the way, would eclipse modern-day WWE, just so people know, just so WWE knows just how fucking pathetic their current ratings are. Ancient WCW, considered a joke company, their ratings eclipse you now. Anyway, that's a separate point. So basically, the year 2000, your company is dying a slow death. The top 3 things, and if you want, you can have more than 3 things that you would do to save that company. Now, the thing with WCW is, and here's another proviso for people who don't understand this conversation, a lot of the things that sunk that ship in the end were happening back in, say, 1998. The problems were really starting in earnest there. 1997, not so much. Things were going fine. The company was actually apparently making money at that point, which is not surprising. They just dominated like WWE for the 80th week in a row, ratings-wise. So the company was doing all right back then. But 1998, things started to slip. It was starting to go. The ratings were starting to get swapped around as to which company won each week. And then in 1999, things started to dip down, started to really sink below WWE. And then 2000 happened, and bang, it was basically gone to the point of no return. So you're allowed to go back to 1998 to push or correct things that went wrong. Shall I start?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so my first thing I would do is, okay, basically you're not allowed to change, you can change or employ different people if you want to, or fire certain people if you want to. That's another thing. First thing I would do would be to push Chris Jericho. In 1998, I'd start to push him much in the way that WWE was pushing Daniel Bryan in, say, 2011. You'd have him gradually getting more screen time, allowing him to do his thing with his promos, deliver his catchphrases, have him win more matches, and gauge the audience feedback. And we all know what Jericho's like. We all know the worker he became in WWE. So it's not. And I mean, and by the way, the writing was on the wall in WCW. If anybody knows anything about Chris Jericho, you will have seen his WCW work, and you will find it entertaining. Because, and just one example off the top of my head, the list of 1,002 holds that he knew, wasn't it? And he was just literally stood there in the ring going through a list because he was coming up to a match with Dean Malenko, and that was Dean Malenko's thing, wasn't it? Dean Malenko is the man of 1,000 holds, and Chris Jericho came out with a list of 1,001 holds that he knew, and that was Chris Jericho's way to hype the match. That was a funny segment. So yeah, that's one of my first things I'd do. I'd see stuff like that, and I'd see positive fan reaction to that. I'd start to push Chris Jericho.
No, I agree with that entirely. They really did drop the ball with Chris Jericho, letting him go, because he was one of those guys. I mean, you look at the success he had in WWF or E, whatever you want to call it. The success that he had, you know, climbing up through the ranks of being one of these smaller guys, first ever undisputed champion, charisma, promo, in-ring abilities, everything that guy had. He could have been so much bigger in WCW. He could have basically carried the company if they had allowed him to. With a gradual build-up, he could have been carrying the company. And it would have made more people want to watch. Somebody who's different, somebody who's edgy, someone who's got interesting and fresh promos and, you know, new moves to bring out, and he can work with basically anybody and put anybody over or bury anybody if he wanted to, which I don't think he would because he's a good worker. But they just, again, that's just another ball that they dropped among the several that they did. But yeah, Chris Jericho definitely would have been one to keep.
That was a booking thing that they did. I think that's as much about backstage politics as it was anything else. But I think it was, I think at that point in 1998, Eric Bischoff still had a lot more control than people would like to think. I think at that point in 1998, Eric Bischoff's say was still pretty much final, and I think a lot of people still trusted Eric Bischoff quite a lot at that point, due to the fact that they were going into 1998. They were 70 weeks in a row dominating WWE in the rating. There was probably quite a fair bit of trust in Eric Bischoff's booking instincts, I guess, let's say. So yes, I'd say let's start to bleed Jericho through the system in 1998 and start to ramp it up a bit in 1999. And then in 2000, you've got a guy who's ready to come into the main event scene, who's been allowed to permeate into the audience's minds, and you've got a guy that's a super talented wrestler, and Chris Jericho, ready to go, ready to carry the main event, and ready to deliver a fresh face to the main event, which is what the company badly needed. And something they did do in 2000 was, because I watched the Bash at the Beach pay-per-view recently, the one where Jarrett was going up against Hulk Hogan and he laid down. Now, the interesting thing about that pay-per-view, it's a bloody weird pay-per-view. I tell you, after that point, it gets very interesting to watch, because of the fact that basically everything that happens after that point is so dominated by that moment, because you have Vampiro walk in after doing a graveyard match, and he has to come back to the arena to win the match, and he's made his way back to the arena, and it cuts to a shot backstage, and he's walking past Hulk Hogan, who's basically dumping the world title because he's pissed off. And it's shown that on camera because it had to be shown, because for Vampiro to come back and win his match. And then you have Goldberg do a promo, out comes Russo, and then on the fly, book the match between Booker T and Jeff Jarrett for the World Heavyweight Championship, basically considering what happened in the ring earlier where Hulk Hogan won it as a non-factor. It didn't happen because it was complete crap, so that match is officially just a Hulk Hogan memorial match now, and this is going to be the real World Heavyweight Championship match. And Booker T and Jeff Jarrett, I don't know I can't remember how long the match with Goldberg and Kevin was. I think it was literally a quarter of an hour. So in quarter of an hour, Jarrett and Booker T had to put together a match. They had to put together a match and have a World Heavyweight Championship match to last, I think, 20 minutes to the end of the pay-per-view. It was a bloody good match. The problem is, at this point, WCW hasn't pushed anybody really, aside from, say, your Stings, your Savages, your Flairs, and your Hogans, these lot. And then all of a sudden you've got Booker T and Jeff Jarrett for the World Heavyweight Championship. It's like, well, where the hell did these two come from? Booker T's been languishing in the mid-card. Jeff Jarrett's been just shoved down people's throats because that's who Vince Russo thought should be the champion. And it just wasn't done in a procedural manner. So if you had Jericho being built up over the last 2 years, in 98 and 99, and he can see he's getting over and he's getting the shots that he wants, he would stick around because that's what he wants. And you have a guy there ready in the main event who's come through the audience's minds organically, and they're ready to see that happen.
Yeah. That's basically it. It's basically what they should have done.
So, my second thing that I would have done, now obviously I think by 2000, the company's talent pool was a bit stagnant really. Because even the guys that Vince Russo wanted to push, the younger guys who hadn't been put in the main event, your Jeff Jarrett's, your Booker T's, they'd still been with the company since 1997. They've been employed by WCW for a lot of years, and they've just been pushed into main events. They're still the same faces, just inexplicably all of a sudden in the main event, which in Booker T's case kind of worked out actually, because he got over pretty quick because he's Booker T. But at the same time, you've got a roster full of people who are basically the same people. The only other people they really hired were Mike Awesome, as I remember it. Sandman, that was Hack. Well, I think he was gone by 2000, actually. I think he went back to ECW. And Whipwreck. There weren't that many fresh faces appearing in WCW past in 1999. So what I would have done in 1999 was sign Kurt Angle before the WWE could. I would have signed Kurt Angle, and here's my reasons why. because we know Kurt Angle's an Olympic gold medalist, and we know he wants to come into the world of professional wrestling. So, imagine if you're WCW, you can... WCW, I find in a couple of pay-per-views, they try to present themselves as a proper event, proper sports event. You have Michael Buffer there doing the ring announcements. You have the way things are presented to you. It feels more real. It's like they're trying to be more legit as a broadcast. It feels more like the build-up to a football match, you know, or a boxing match, this type of thing. So you having a proper Olympic gold medalist, Kurt Angle will give you that legitimate air about it. And plus, we know that Kurt Angle was good on the mic, and if you give Kurt Angle an opportunity, you'll find he was good on the mic and he was good in the ring. Come the year 2000, after he's had a solid opening year in 1999, you've got another guy there ready to keep the audience fresh and who can wrestle with anybody. And plus, even worst case scenario, you still lose your guys like Chris Benoit, Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko, Chris Jericho. Let's say you didn't succeed in that. You still have another guy, Kurt Angle, who's ready, who is as good as those guys to give your company that real legitimate air and technical wrestling proficiency, which I found after those guys left was gone. So if you had Kurt Angle there, it wouldn't be so much of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Kurt Angle as being a legitimate wrestler, they actually had some legitimate wrestlers on the card that they could have had 5-star matches with. I mean, Angle versus Benoit, that would have stolen the show every time. Angle versus Eddie, that would have stolen the show every time. If you want to go down the ranks slightly, ranked if you want to call them, Angle against somebody like Shane Douglas, who is an approved wrestler. Angle against somebody like Goldberg, that would have been one hell of a match.
That would have been a good one, yeah. Angle versus Sting.
Angle versus Sting, Angle versus Flair, Angle versus Hogan, Angle versus anybody. The match would have been gold.
And if it's the year 2000, let's just say he's not risen to the main event yet, so you can have Kurt Angle versus Juventud Guerrera. That would have been a good match.
Yeah, against
you could have had Kurt Angle versus Hugh Morris, or in 2000, Hugh G-Rection, which is what they called him. Yeah, exactly. Vince Russo, congrats. Hugh Morris was a very good wrestler at that point, so you could have him go against Kurt Angle versus Vampiro, because that was Vampiro was very good actually. I think he's an underrated talent. So Kurt versus Vampiro, or the two people who I would have loved to have seen face Kurt Angle back in their heyday. It was a match that we saw later on at WrestleMania 22 anyway, was Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio Jr. and perhaps Kurt Angle versus Billy Kidman.
Yeah. Put him in there and help him progress by putting him against solid workers and getting good results, and that way Angle would build, he would develop, he would get better. And then, as you said, after a year or so, I mean, maybe not even a year, once they'd seen how good he was, start pushing him up to main events levels. Goldberg, Sting, Savage, Hogan, all those guys, get him some credibility.
In 2001, and keep you relevant.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in 2001, the main event scene was so impossibly stagnant. I mean, on their last pay-per-view, WCW Greed, it was in March 2001, which is the same month, which means it's a pay-per-view which has to go up against WrestleMania 17. Their main event was DDP versus Scott Steiner for the World Heavyweight Championship. They put that main event up against Rock versus Steve Austin.
It was just never going to work. Never going to work.
Comparison. You cannot rely on DDP and Scott Steiner to carry your pay-per-view against WrestleMania.
No offense to either of those guys.
Else on the card that either. I mean, in fairness to Greed, though, there were some very good matches actually. But here's the thing. This is the difference, right? The good matches at WrestleMania 17, when you think about it, Raven, Kane, Big Show for the Hardcore title was a good one. That was a very good match. Triple H versus The Undertaker, another incredibly good match. TLC. Oh, here's a good one. The tag team match comparison. Okay, so the tag team title match on WrestleMania 17, the well-documented TLC 2 match, Edge and Christian versus the Dudleys versus the Hardys. Want to know what the World Tag Team match on WCW Greed was?
Do I even want to take a guess?
You probably wouldn't guess it. It was Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare versus Totally Buffed, which is the team of Lex Luger and Buff Bagwell, and it was about a 2-minute squash match.
Oh dear. No, that's a shame because, like, with the quality of the pay-per-view, like you were saying, the quality of the wrestling actually wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. It's just the way they pushed and promoted the product in such stupid and nonchalant ways and throwing things together at the last minute and nobody knowing what they're
that's
doing.
Another point as well, actually, on that pay-per-view. One of the matches that were thrown together at the very last second, it wasn't even on the card, was the opening match of that pay-per-view, which was a guy called Kwee Wee versus Jason Jett. Those two had a hell of a good match, and they're two people you'd never heard of before.
Yeah, no promotion whatsoever. If you can have the best product in the world, if you're not promoting it and you're not actively getting people behind it, what's the point? What's the fucking point of that?
So yeah, like we say, I mean, if you had Kurt Angle signed on in 1999 or late 1998, you could have Kurt Angle ready there to keep your main event scene fresh, which is kind of the big thing that WWF did at the time, was they were pushing up fresh talents. So you need fresh talents. And before people say, well, hello, really, WCW can create talents. Wrong. They can. And they did. They just didn't do it very often. It's you can't really call it a weakness of a weakness of the company is something that they can't do. Creating new talents is just something WCW didn't do. And the only talent they actually did create was Goldberg, and look what happened there. So if WCW chose to create more talents from their own fields, their own ranks, then they probably could have had some pretty decent success there.
And they had the option to, with the finance and the backing and the power plant and everything they had this golden opportunity. And because people just left, right, and centre, nobody knowing what they're doing, nobody knowing where to put him or her, or put them wherever, that's just stupid. That's just bad business. There's no other way it was going to go but down.
Yeah. One of my third things, although it's kind of, there was a fourth thing I would do, but I think my third point takes more precedence over my fourth. My third thing would be tighter control of the company. And what I mean by this is just the booking aspect of it. And the way that you book things, making sure that things happen the way that you book it and explain it on TV. And there are examples of this all over the place in WCW. And this is where the holes start to appear in the ship that sunk it in the end. First of all, Starrcade 1997. I want to talk about this one because it was Sting versus Hollywood Hogan. It was the payoff to a year's build-up. One of, if not the hottest storylines in professional wrestling history. Sting versus the NWO. It's the NWO. It's the big payoff. Bret Hart's just joined the company after doing a big WCW sign on WWF television. WCW is fucking hot right now. It's got all sorts of new stars. It's got all sorts of new eyes on the product. Ready for Starrcade 97. Starrcade is WCW's WrestleMania. Sting comes out, Hogan comes out. They have a match. Sting officially hasn't really wrestled in a year, so he's not quite ready. He's not quite ready for that yet, but that's not the biggest problem. What happens is Hollywood Hogan drops the leg. He does the leg drop, and the referee, Nick Patrick, 1, 2, 3, and then all of a sudden you got Bret Hart comes out on the mic and goes, "This is terrible. This has happened to me, and I'm not going to let it happen again." And then Nick Patrick said, "No, sir, that was 1, 2, 3." And then it's like, wait, the match has restarted. This is a legitimate ending. And here's the problem. Nick Patrick fucked up. Nick Patrick fucked it up. Because he didn't know he forgot what the script was. He forgot what he was supposed to do after Hollywood Hogan dropped the leg was this. Tap really fast. He was supposed to do a fast count and screw Sting over because Sting was supposed to be really powerful and unstoppable. However, Sting just lay there expecting a fast count which didn't come, and then all of a sudden the match ended and it looked legit, and now Sting just looks a little bit silly. So, stuff like that, I would make sure everybody knows tight what the plan is before you go ahead. And I mean, Bash the Beach again is another example in 2000. And here's something which Vince Russo did not do, which if you watch the pay-per-view, in fact, he kind of turned it round to his own advantage, because for the next couple of months after that, I think that, well, actually it wasn't. I mean, all the hype had disappeared almost immediately, but actually not immediately. It took 2 pay-per-views again for the hype to disappear for this, but he came out, he did that promo where he just laid his heart on the line, and if you watch that shoot, it's actually a shoot that had the fans popping. Oh, you watch that? The fans popped it. So when and then of course they have the main event. It's Booker T versus Jeff Jarrett, and the fans are hot for that match. But you know, at the same time though, it wasn't meant to happen. Perhaps the pay-per-view would have gone down much better if you had Hollywood Hogan and Jeff Jarrett in the main event, and they just had an epic match, and it happened the way Hogan wanted to do it. Because I think if you're Vince Russo, store that anger and just be smart and book around it for the moment. I mean, I'm playing a mod on my management game. It's not the same thing, but Hollywood Hogan plays his creative control card in nearly every single time I book him to lose, unless if it's a tag team match. The only time I've ever seen in that game Hollywood Hogan not play creative control card is in a tag team match when basically his tag partner can lose the match instead. So, you know, I imagine something like that was happening in real life, even though Hogan says it wasn't. But, you know, I mean, you ask the people who know, it's pretty obvious that's what was happening. So if you're Russo, you have to do what I'm currently trying to do on my game, which is book around and build loads more stars to come up, and basically just take that spot when that spot opens up, because Hollywood Hogan's going to retire in a couple of years. Have those couple of stars rating on the start line, ready to go and take that main event, because that's what happened in WWF. Austin took a step back, in jumps The Rock straight into the main event, ready to carry the company. And what Vince Russo should have done is just work on those guys and make sure they're ready as set go. Have your Jerichos, have your Jarretts, have your Booker T's, have your Kurt Angles, have your Billy Kidmans, have your Mysterios, all ready to jump into that main event and ready to go.
That's basically what would have happened. I mean, there's only so long you can watch something and watch the same storylines before it gets boring, and people are going to switch off and look for an alternative, which is eventually what they did with WWF. And, you know, because WWF are doing things so edgy and so different and creating so many different characters. I mean, you watch wrestling from like the late 90s, early 2000s, you watch the crowds pop for basically their favorites and their faces and the heels. The heels got booed out of the building and the faces got cheered out of the building. That's a sign that something is going right. Yeah, in a big way. So yeah, that would be my final point, would be to really get tighter, smarter booking, rather than just worrying about the main event and only the main event. To a degree, yes, your main focus has to be your main event. It is your main event after all. But at the same time, just be smart and have some ideas for the lower guys, because WCW is famous. The story is famous of just having no control at all. People coming in and just not being able to exert any authority. So basically, you're just going to have to, and when it comes to stuff like that, I think it would just literally have to be a case of, I'm your boss, and just try and stick to your guns a bit on that one. Yeah. And that's my 3 things: is start pushing Chris Jericho at 1998, hire Kurt Angle late 98, early 99, and have him get on the go, and be smarter about your booking, not just like every single match is a screw job. I mean, that's another thing. There's just too many screw jobs and too many fuck-ups. Like in Uncensored 99, the whole pay-per-view they're building that First Blood match between Hollywood Hogan and Ric Flair. Hollywood Hogan busts Ric Flair open like a stuffed pig. Does the match end because it's First Blood? Nope. Apparently now it's a normal pinfall match. Oh, great. We fucked up. It was not. The whole time the announcers thought it was going to be a First Blood match, and we're hyping that up, and it turns out that wasn't actually the plan at all. So yeah, tighter control with smart booking would have been an idea.
Yeah.
And if that had happened, who knows? Maybe that company would still be around today. Well, I say today it would, but I mean, at least it would have had
It probably would have lived on and survived. If it had survived, I have a feeling if it could have just hung on in there, I think basically AOL Time Warner just ran out of patience because it was so. I mean, it's still their top-rated program, but it was losing so far to WWE and WWF, sorry, at the time that they were just like, oh, there's just no hope.
Yeah, why would you say?
That
Yes.
company had limped on with pay-per-view quality, the style of Greed with their Kiwi and Jason Jet style matches, only with more established stars like your Buff Bagwells and your Billy Kidmans and Mysterios. Once guys like Hollywood Hogan and that have to go, and once people are used to seeing Rey Mysterio, Booker T, and Jeff Jarrett in the main event and have started to accept it, that company may well have been able to keep going. And plus, they could have tried signing new talent, and it may well have been able to get by. I think it might still be there, forcing the WWE to actually try. You never know. Perhaps WCW would have signed Brock Lesnar. We know they like monster heels. They might have signed if they had survived. They might have signed Brock Lesnar in 2002. You never know. They might have signed Randy Orton or John Cena. They might have signed Kevin Owens or AJ Styles. Yeah. In fact, they did sign AJ Styles. Now that I think about it.
They did, yeah, for a short period. But again, they did nothing with it.
Too late.
Yeah, it was too late, and they didn't have anywhere for him to go. Because they were so in the mindset of, oh, well, we've got this formula and it's worked for so long, we'll just stick with it. And it's like, but it's clearly not working. Look at your ratings, look at your talent pool. It's not working anymore. People are bored. They want to see something new. They want to see something different. Give back to the fans what they want, and they will come back for more. It's simple.
Yeah. And basically, WCW had slowly booked themselves, because here's what was happening, I think. They were like, oh shit, we're starting to lose these ratings. We're going to have to go to... They kept on going to the well, and it kept on keeping them in touch for a while. But the more they went to the well, that well just dried up. It dried up, and once it had dried up, they went into an emergency. And once that well had dried up, there was no quick fix. The next water source was 2,000 miles away, and they only had enough water to survive 100 miles, basically. They went to the well so many times and booked themselves into such a corner. There was no quick fix, and that's why I said you're allowed to go back to 1998 to try and find yourself a solution to the WCW problem, because you have to go and do your work in 1998 and 1999 in order to put the things in place that needed to happen to basically keep that company alive.
I mean, if you look at it the way I look at it, I like to analyze it with food. Let's say your favorite food is, I don't know, steak and chips. Okay, that's great. But if somebody said to you, if somebody was cooking your food for you every Monday or on every Sunday on the pay-per-views, you're going to have steak and chips. Well, there's only so many times you can eat steak and chips before you get bored of it.
Yeah.
There's only so many times you can eat it before you think, actually, I don't like this anymore. I want to try something else. So, but they just kept feeding them steak and chips when they wanted something different.
Yeah, that's WCW's problem. They just pushed forward so many stale. They just kept on pushing the stale and old talent over and over and over and over again because they're proven quantities, and those talent, they don't want to lose their spot. They're not going to give up their spot. They're not just. But you have nobody viable to take control of that mantle, and so there's nobody else you can really put in the main event legitimately. And they're not going to give their spot to a guy who's been languishing around in the mid-card for the last 3 years. That's not going to happen without any push before it. So,
I mean, that's the thing with, like, if you've watched the rise and fall of ECW, going to Paul Heyman, he said wrestling at that time, and I mean this applies to WCW in the later years more than it does the previous years, but he was saying, all these old guys that were still clinging and clutching to their spot, I want to be the top guy, nobody's going to beat me. Whereas ECW was different. He would say things like, okay, that's why he had guys like Terry Funk, because Terry Funk would say things like, okay, let me work with him, I can make him better, He gave a fair push to everybody. I mean, it sounds disastrous, but Mikey Whipwreck holding the world title? That sounds pathetic, but fucking hell, That was huge when he held that thing. That was
Yeah.
absolutely massive. Guys like Taz and Raven, Sandman, Mike Awesome when he came in for a time, Tanaka, he had cruiserweights in there for a short time, and that was different. That's what injected that company. That's why that company managed to rise as high as they did for as long as they did. For a company that wasn't even 10 years old, he had a hell of a fucking run because Paul Heyman was smart and he was like, okay, I'm going to be in charge. I know what's good. I'm going to do it this way, and it worked. It worked really fucking well.
Yeah, smart booking. And that's what kept it fresh, and WCW didn't do anything to make it fresh.
Nope.
Although ECW was kind of, in the end, found itself in the same sort of situation, really, didn't it? Because it kept on going to guys like Sandman and Sabu and...
Not necessarily, though. The main reason...
It was the hardcore content. They kept on doing hardcore stuff every night, and it's like, you need this to feel a bit special. And in the end...
That's the thing, though. Like, in the later years, they actually had, they had guys like Steve Corino, Just Incredible, Jerry Lynn, Rob Van Dam, all these guys. The only reason ECW went out of business is because their TV deal fell through, and they gave it to Vince instead of him. So without any money, as an independent promoter and an independent booker, if you've got no money to back the product and you can't afford to pay your Jerry Lynn's, your Rob Van Dams, your Tommy Dreamers, and all these guys, they're going to look for work elsewhere, somewhere where they can actually afford to, feed their families and pay their bills. So that was the main downfall of ECW, was they just didn't have enough money and enough promotion to push their product. They got fucked over by their network, basically.
In fairness, yeah, that's true. But, yeah, I think we basically covered what we would do to try and keep WCW afloat, keep things fresh in your main event scene by pushing your guys from the mid-card with potential, like Jericho's, Eddie Guerrero, and start to push these guys a bit further than where they were. And also sign a couple more new talent, because that wasn't happening nearly enough until it was too late. I mean, if they'd signed AJ Styles, and by the way, AJ Styles had already debuted in 1999, they could have signed AJ Styles in 1999 if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just a certain amount of complacency happening in those times basically doomed that company, and like you say, you've got to keep things fresh. You can't just let things get stale. Look what's happening in WWE right now, Cena versus Orton. What's your reaction to that? Great.
Hence their view rates are going down very, very quickly.
Yes. Anyway, let's move on, because I have another exceedingly controversial topic. The highly popular Ferrari 458 is going to be replaced.
Wait a minute, wasn't I supposed to do my three things?
Oh yeah, that's a point. Yeah, I thought you were kind of just piling on.
I was going to say, you motherfucker, you're trying to fucking stooge me off on this? Don't even think about that.
I thought you were basically just doing it along with me, in fairness.
Oh, no. I have three. Well, I have three as well. One of them is very similar to yours, but there's two different ones, which I will explain in a minute. You need to entertain the people, because I really need the toilet. So I've got an idea. Sing your, what's it called? The thing from fucking Lord of the Rings, with Billy Boyd. Edge of Night, is it called, or Darkest of Night? You want me
to sing to my audience?
Well, I don't, but I'm just imagining this will keep them entertained for a while. And put on your best singing voice. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. I apologise, people that are watching, but I will be back shortly.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to apologise as well, because impromptu. I've never done this sort of live. You have to take off the hat for this. Oh my god, my hair looks stupid. That's what a fedora will do to you. I'm actually going to do this, by the way. I'm going to do it. I haven't done it live, though, in ages. Home is behind the world ahead, and there are many paths to tread, through shadow till the edge of night, until the stars are all alight. Mist and shadow, cloud and shade, all shall fade, all shall fade. Yeah, you're done. Impromptu. I don't normally do requests like that. If need must. Needs must. What else can I sing to you? Oh, hang on a minute. I know what will piss Marcus off when he hears this, but I'm going to sing it. Catching flies
Oh,
in
God.
his mouth.
I knew it was a good idea to leave you on your own.
Well, you're too late now. What are you done? Bing crop. Fuck this. I'm doing this all wrong. I'm going back this all wrong.
I was going to say, what happened to the Fedora?
Yeah.
Why did that come off?
No. I'm doing this all wrong. I'm doing this completely 100% wrong. Why am I doing it like this? I could do this so much better than that. All I need is to turn my speakers right the way up so that hopefully we don't. So that hopefully you can hear this.
Oh, it's much.
Yes, I can hear it.
God.
It's gonna happen. This is what happens when you invite me to sing. Perhaps it'd be better if I did it on this as well.
I'm just going to sit this one out, people, so...
Catch and fly
Oh, my God.
in his mouth.
I'm sorry, Mark Crozer. I'm so sorry.
Freedom. I can't do it now. I'm just laughing too much.
God damn it.
Going back to the top. Just look at your face. Top of the stairs. I'm sorry.
I'm not even going to fucking look at you.
Just in the chorus. I'll try and do it for the chorus. Who won't see the sun again if he is to come? He's broken out in love. Whatever, that fucking sucked because I was laughing too much. I can do it actually better than that. Not much better than that, but better.
Legit, bro. Legit.
Yeah, by the way, the viewer did not turn off through that, so yes! It can't have sucked that much. That must have been quite funny for a moment.
That guy or girl is obviously crazier than you are.
A glutton for punishment, I must admit. Whoever you are, cool. Let us know who you are so that we can. It's gone now. Never mind.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, going back to the three things of WCW, like you said, with the tighter control thing. Yeah, basically, that was going to be one of my things, the tighter control. But in that same vein, I would say do not let a wrestler become the booker, because that is a massive recipe for disaster straight away. You would need to keep Russo as the booker, but you would need a figurehead for him to feed his ideas to, which is why it worked in WWF, because everything he did went through Vince McMahon, and Vince would say, oh, that idea is crap. And then he'd go, actually, that idea is really good. We're going to use that one. So he would have to approve everything. When you give someone total creative and operational control, especially if it's a wrestler who wants to hold on to their spot, that's a massive fuck-up straight away. That is one thing you should definitely not have done. So that's why I agree with you on the creative control. Tighter control with an effective writing team and a writing staff of maybe, say, 4 or 5 people. Maybe try and sponge some people from WWF or, independent promotions that are really good. Things like that. That would have actually helped in a big, massive way, definitely.
That's the one that you agree with me on, yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Number 2 is I would not have ended the streak of Bill Goldberg in the manner that it ended. Okay, I would have, obviously you have to end the streak at some point because nobody is undefeatable for that long. Okay, but I would have let him hold the belt for maybe not even a massive time longer, maybe even 6 months, a couple more pay-per-views so you get more and more money and people think, okay, and then you build someone else legitimate that could take the title off him. Somebody like Sting, or to an extent Hogan, because of Hogan's popularity, understandably, those two couldn't really have a good match because Hogan isn't a great wrestler, whatever. But at the same time, like you said, if they'd had somebody like Kurt Angle or a Chris Jericho, if they pushed them in the right way, have Goldberg pick up a few title wins over them, and at the pay-per-view, even if it's a screw job finish, don't use a fucking cattle prod to put somebody down. That's just stupid. That's ridiculous. You need to legitimize somebody with a legitimate win over the monster Bill Goldberg. And then that person, whoever it was, could have had a longer run, build them as a champion, or even have Goldberg beat them within 2 months. They don't have a rematch at the next pay-per-view, but they have one at the next one. Whatever. Give the belt back to Goldberg at some point. But yeah, I would not have ended the streak, definitely. Not in the way that it was ended anyway. I would have let him have a longer run because he was so hot at that time and they just crushed him. And ever since then, people were like, okay, well, this is crap now. Kevin Nash is a champion again. Well, hey, yeah, great.
Yeah.
So that would have been number 2. And the third one was, Oh crap, what was it? I've actually just forgotten it. Creative control. Don't end the streak. What was the third one? The third one was God, what was it? I totally forgot. Well, I suppose technically it goes back to what you were saying with the creative control thing. Is kind of be more creative and more imaginative and give the ball to other stars to push those guys. Like you said, your Chris Jerichos, your Chris Benoit's, your Eddie Guerrero. Stop giving it to the old horses that have been there, done that. You know, they've already had their run. So don't keep them in the spotlight. Give it to somebody else. And like you said, with the hiring of new talent, guys that they could have hired, they just didn't build the characters enough. Give them a proper storyline to build up, you know? And things like that. So essentially, yeah, we agree on most things, but the only other thing I would have done differently, like I said, is end the streak. So, but yeah, basically,
if you think about it, it's the same. It's the same thing that they're doing with Seth Rollins at the moment. That's what WWE's doing very well with Seth Rollins. Is they're bleeding him into the main event scene without all of a sudden just shifting entire focus onto him. Yeah. He's there. He's there in the main event scene, but he's not winning it.
Yeah, that's it. And they're giving him a gradual build-up, which is good because you can't, you know, with some guys it works doing the instant push, guys like Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, you know, things like that. People that have a legitimate good starting point, that's fine. But there's only a few stars that you can really give that to because how are you going to know everything about a wrestler if he's given the title within, say, 6 months? That's where they fucked up with guys like Jack Swagger. You know, with the Money in the Bank thing, they just thought, okay, we'll put the belt on Swagger. Held it for, what, 4 months? 5 months? Something like that. And then it was gone. If Swagger had more time to build himself up and show that, shit, yeah, he's actually a legitimate wrestler. He's like, you know, Kurt Angle level sort of skill at wrestling. He could have been a much better heel champion or a face champion.
Yeah, exactly. I think that if you did that with WCW, say, you don't necessarily have to take people like Hollywood Hogan, Sting, Kevin Nash out of the main event immediately. You don't necessarily have to do that.
Yeah.
But with Booker T at Bash at the Beach, it wasn't even a match that was supposed to happen, and it was the first ever World Championship shot Booker T ever had. His first ever title shot was a match which was not supposed to happen, which happened due to a booking disaster. So now imagine how much more impact that would have had if Booker T had been involved in a couple of singles matches, maybe one time getting screwed out of it, but maybe other times getting legitimately close, but legitimately losing, so that he's there, he's knocking on that door, and you're just waiting until he punches his fist right through it and actually wins the title, which is kind of where we're at with Seth Rollins at the moment. So if you'd done that maybe, and have him get a legitimate win over guys like Hollywood Hogan, then yeah, I think you may well have had, you've just launched another star who has proven he's on the level with Hollywood Hogan, who is fresh in the audience's mind, so you can, yeah, so I think we're basically all agreed with what it takes to save WCW, and we're at 1.5 hours of this podcast, so we're basically going all right. And I'd like to say to everybody, welcome to our stream. If you're watching, it's currently showing only one viewer, but you know what? Hey, welcome to the stream. Hope you're enjoying this show. We've had many controversial episodes. If you are only just jumping in, we've discussed are all rape cases that where the woman was drunk, is that immediately disqualified from being raped? We've discussed the legalization of weed, and we've just finished discussing what 3 things we would do to save WCW. But continuing on a controversial topic, before I forgot to do Marcus's 3 things, the Ferrari 458 Italia is now being replaced, and by the way, this may well become like a semi-consistent thing on Host Pro, where I talk about a car or some sort of car-related news. So in relation to that, we've got the Ferrari 458 Italia is being replaced, and the replacement is going to be called the 488 GTB. And as it pertains to the 488 GTB, I have already got some pictures loaded up for you, so you can all have a look, which I suspect you've probably all seen it anyway. But here we go. This is what the car looks like. And I'm going to take control of my mouse. Yes. It looks basically exactly the same as the 458 Italia. Well, it's an evolution of the 458 Italia, is basically what it is. First things first, the visual differences I spotted immediately we have grooves here in the front bonnet, which is for air to come out, which means this part of the car here, these little bits here, these are going to be basically part of the front splitter, providing front-end downforce at higher speeds, which should help the car nose in better at higher speeds than the 458 Italia, which only had vanes around here. But this car, much more intricate front splitter, should provide a fair bit more aero downforce at the front. In fact, Ferrari claim the car has 25% more downforce than the 458 Italia, which is quite a big gaining. The lighting area, not the same, pretty different. It's basically the same, but the basic shape of the 458 Italia has been retained because it was a damn sexy shape, if I do say so myself. Another visual visual difference we can see from the 458 Italia is this right here. The 488 has adopted a more 430-esque air intake by these rear haunches, which actually in the 458 Italia disappeared underneath the car for better airflow over the top. However, I think Ferrari have reverted to this style better because it's better at sucking air into sucking air into the engine to keep it cool. Plus, it probably also guides air better over the rear spoiler, which I don't know if I can see that any better. Yeah, around here. It's probably better at guiding air to this point of the car and through here to create more use of that rear spoiler. And if I could show you something from the back, I'm not even sure if this, I think this is the right one, but you can't really see it very well. They have a much more aggressive rear diffuser than they have in the past, which is aided by a flat underbelly on the car, which means you're going to get much cleaner airflow underneath the car, which is going to help make better use of that diffuser, which is ultimately under to this screen now, so you can see much more of it. So as you can see as well, the interior is very, very familiar. It's very similar to the 458 Italia, but here you can see that aggressive rear spoiler. And here's the exits for the engine intakes, like I was talking about. Overall, just much more tighter control of the air, which results in 25% more downforce. I've also got a couple more statistics for you. For those of you who like statistics, who are nerds like me, the 458 Italia had a 4.5 litre direct injection V8. The 488 is downsizing. It only has a 3.9 litre V8, but with the addition of 2 turbochargers, which means the power output currently stands at 661 brake horsepower with 561 pounds per square foot of torque. Yeah, you whistle. You're right to whistle. That is basically 100 brake horsepower more than the 458 had when it launched. That is a whole my car more powerful than its predecessor. That's it's a lot of power they found there. And performance figures are affected as such. The 0 to 62 is quoted at 3 seconds, which is actually the same as the special racing edition of the 458 called the Speciale. They accelerate the same to 0 to 62, but 0 to 124 takes 8.3 seconds, which is in fact a second faster than the 458 Speciale. So in the end, it's still faster than the ultra track-focused edition of the 458. You're looking at a top speed of 205 miles per hour, so it breaks the special 200 mile an hour barrier, which is basically mandatory now for any car to be considered legit. I think as a legit high-end performance machine, it basically has to break 200 miles per hour, unless if you're the Nissan GTR. That said, no, that's not. The final thing that I haven't actually told you about, but this is an interesting performance figure because Ferrari likes to quote lap times around their test track at Fiorano. The 488 GTB is currently quoted as being 2 seconds a lap faster at Fiorano than the mighty V12 Enzo from 2002, which was considered the ultimate Ferrari at the time. And then everything else I've basically told you already, except for the fact that we don't even know the full details of this car. There are a lot of things they haven't told us yet, which I have a feeling automotive journalists worldwide are going to be very interested in, but we don't know them yet. So we still got more details to come at the Geneva Motor Show next month, I believe. And that is the 488 GTB, everything we know that's important so far. Google Hangouts is showing. Yes, I know Google Hangouts is showing my screen. Thank you for telling me that. I told it to.
That's the whole point of screen sharing, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. But yeah, I'm thinking about making that like a permanent fixture of Host Pro. Is mentioning stuff about cars because I love cars.
Could actually get a bit more interactive that way as well.
Yeah, I can show off pictures of it as well. Oh, they come out quite well in the stream actually.
Yeah, they were pretty clear quality.
And I was able to point out stuff out with my mouse that I've noticed, which is quite cool. I like that. I can sound nerdy and hopefully sound like I know what I'm talking about, which is quite good.
By the way, Glen's car knowledge is a lot better than mine. A hell of a lot better than mine. The only thing I know about a car is you stick a key in it and turn it to make it go. That's about it.
I like Smudge. He's cute.
Yeah, he's getting jealous because you're getting more attention than he is tonight. Hello.
Well, now he's going to get attention from potentially 619 people.
I know, that's great again.
We are I've got 3 subscribers more than we had on Tuesday, so thank you to all 3 new subscribers who are watching this show. Good to have you with us aboard with the channel.
That's good. If you can get 3 extra a week, I mean, that's a growth rate pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is really cool.
Do you want to know how many I've gained since January the 1st this year?
1?
Yes. But thank you, whoever that one person is. I think it might actually be my friend Emma.
Oh, fair play.
Only because I did the video for how to make a death shake.
I'm not entirely sure. I don't think she's subscribed to me yet.
I don't think she knows your channel. I can send her a link though.
Yeah, maybe she might be in. Actually, she probably did because I think you sent her. You said you sent her links to UPW.
Yeah, she might have done.
She might have done. I don't know what her YouTube name is, so she might have already subscribed to me.
Yeah, she might have done. If you just base it, I think her YouTube name is just Emma, basically. So you would know if she popped up.
Fair, but I'll probably be like, yeah, that's yeah. My final topic that I have planned, which is literally this note. It's this like I say, look, it's this note right here. Can you read that? I can because it's backwards on the screen. But that says.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Arkham Knight.
Arkham Knight, what do we know so far? Well, the big thing is Arkham Knight is not referring to Batman as such. The character of the Arkham Knight is actually the main antagonist in the game, I believe. They are, and from what we know so far, there is no Joker. None whatsoever.
That's what they say.
Yeah, because I'm not entirely sure if... I think they must have mentioned it at some point, but I got lost in the news somewhere. I don't know if Arkham Knight is a sequel to Arkham Origins, but a prequel to Arkham Asylum, or a sequel to Arkham City, and therefore Part 4 in the overall Arkham storyline.
I'm not sure. I think it is intended to be a sequel. No, a prequel, sorry.
Yes, I believe so too, because I know that Scarecrow is in the game.
Yeah,
and
we haven't seen him, have we?
He got eaten by Killer Croc in Arkham Asylum, so for him to be alive, it must therefore be a prequel to Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, which is what I'm thinking. So at this time, I mean, Joker was in the last game, wasn't he? Because I mean, I never actually played the last game, to be honest with you.
It's quite good.
Yeah, the trouble is with Batman is, I mean, me personally, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Asylum was great. I loved it because, you know, it brought all the characters in and everything else. Really good storyline and everything else. Then City was kind of, it was good and it was different, but at the same time it was very, very samey. The combat system hadn't been upgraded. You know, it's just the same sort of button mashing thing, which is cool. You know, it's fine, but it's just like, you know, Batman drops from a roof. Oh, a group of henchmen. Great, okay. So then we'll swing around. Oh no, I just missed that grapple hook. Oh look, a group of enemies. Great, fantastic. Oh, let's go up and do this big. Oh, a group of enemies. Yeah, okay, great. That's just the same. Seems to be the same thing over it. This is probably why I didn't buy Origins. Actually, I should have really. But Arkham Knight definitely looks different. At the very least, it's a massive graphical improvement on the last games. Definitely so.
Yes, and you do get the Batmobile now.
Yes.
Which is a cool feature. Although one thing I will say about Arkham City, as opposed to Asylum and Origins, is the combat system flowed much better, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I found it much easier to string together your combinations in Arkham City. So I think they took their fight system from Asylum and just refined it a bit rather than renovate, rather than really. I think there are a couple more features that you could. I think there are a couple more moves you could pull off, but they didn't. They didn't really change it up too much. Which, to be fair, I really like the combat system in the Arkham series. So I'm kind of digging that they didn't do that in a big way.
Yeah.
In some ways, but yeah, I think Arkham Knight is. I'm interested to see what they do to alter up the fight engine again and the storyline again. It's another one of those games which is as much about storyline as is about gameplay.
Yeah.
What I want to see them do is just bring in more ways for you to hide from your enemies. Like, just if you were to stay in the dark, like say you're basically in like a doorway. You get like doorways, and the street light just doesn't hit them. So you can basically just stand in there as Batman, complete black suit, and an enemy can basically just walk straight past you and not know you're there because you're black. The light's not getting to that area, and you can just jump out of them and take them out like that. Stuff that you can base, like environments like that, where you don't actually have to be hiding behind something necessarily to take somebody by surprise.
Yeah, and sort of an upgraded sort of like stealth element kind of thing. A bit more. That would add a bit more sort of realism to it, really. I think.
Yeah, could you imagine like a Batman game, like a combination between Batman, the Arkham series, and Metal Gear Solid?
I was actually just thinking that. I was thinking
I had a feeling you might have been about to go there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say if they could add the stealth elements of Metal Gear Solid into Batman, that would be pretty incredible. But with Arkham Knight, I mean, the only thing I would like to see with differences in game in the Batman series is one, the adaptation of daylight, because every single thing is always at night, isn't it?
Yeah.
Constantly at night. I would like to see a daylight element in it, so the enemies could be afraid in daylight. And with tying into the daylight thing, I would like to see some NPCs walking around.
Yes, and this is one thing that I've been thinking as well. Because the thing with the Arkham series so far is it's cool. You can be a vigilante and just drop it on criminals. But the thing is, there's no innocent people to protect. They're all in their houses. You don't really feel like you're protecting anybody. Like when there's a crime in progress, it'd be cool if you could watch from the shadows as somebody's about to commit a crime and then swoop in just at the right moment to stop it. And then have actual police come and arrest the guy after you've beaten them up. Now that would be cool. But I have a feeling you'd have to completely change, because that's basically not what the Arkham series is known for. The Arkham series being a bit more comic book-esque, really, than it is real life. I don't know if you could do something like that in the Arkham series. I think you'd have to basically do a completely Batman video game series, where if you had this more stealth element based around the Metal Gear Solid style stealth, only with some Batman tweaks, with the gadgets and everything, basically make it Grand Theft Auto with Batman's gadgets and Metal Gear Solid's stealth element.
And the watchdog element of being able to intervene in crimes and stuff. And,
Yes. Yeah.
That kind of thing. That would. The other thing as well was, that would.
Right there.
Yeah, that would be good. But I think at least they should be able to give you the option, like call it almost sort of like passive mode, where you can kind of, where you can change into, like, say, Bruce Wayne into a get-up and stuff, and you can drive his Lamborghini around, or whatever car he had, and be driven around by like Alfred and stuff, and you get a chance to go back to the Batman, the Batcave and the mansion and everything, a bit more sort of interactive into who Bruce Wayne is, and you have to complete events in like Bruce Wayne skin and then Batman skin. That kind of thing is what I was sort of striving at with that, and I think with a next-gen console that would be entirely possible.
Yeah, I think with the extra power that you have, that doesn't seem unrealistic, and I think that is basically the Batman game that everybody wants, because then you can basically be the Dark Knight.
Yeah, you could actually take the role of both characters, and then maybe as well like a more sort of like open world kind of thing, not to the extent of say something like Skyrim or Metal Gear Solid, but a bit more sort of more areas that you can explore, like a bigger map where you can do certain things, like I
Yeah,
mean,
give us like a Grand Theft Auto sized city.
with the option of, like I said, like being able to hop into a cab or call Alfred or something to go back to the Bruce Wayne mansion, where there's like side missions where you can like gather intelligence and stuff to make your character knowledge level slightly higher, or gain more intel on your enemies to make the boss fight a bit easier or harder, depending on things like that. I mean, a more interactive kind of thing. I mean, I'm not doubting Arkham Knight won't be a great game. It's just, I think, with these developments as well, because then when people buy it, they would look at it and think, okay, this has changed quite a lot, and it's had quite a bit more depth. And then from that, you can go on and do it in the next game, and the next game, and the next game, and whatever. And then you could have spin-offs and things like that.
Yeah, and I think and what would be really cool with an element like that is you could bring in say you have like an overarching storyline in this video game series. You could have one game, say, where you're focusing on like say Penguin's or Falcone's evil scheme, like a grand scheme, and yet there are news reports of the Joker lurking. You've got news or suddenly there's like an explosion or random crime happens in the city, which happens unannounced, and it turns out that people suspect it was linked to the Joker, and then have that plant seeds for your next game, and then it's the Joker's grand scheme whilst you're hearing reports of, say, Bane or Scarecrow like coming in and starting doing random things, as well as the random crimes from petty little guys, which aren't really a big threat. That'd be so cool to just have like crimes randomly happening that relate to the other Gotham, criminal big dogs.
Grand scheme of things, yeah. So you could basically just vein out and just do different bits, like start with like small, basic independent jobs, muggers and thieves and things like that, and then like you get to a slightly bigger job where there's like a heist on a store or something, like after hours, and that eventually is because they're being led by, say, Penguin because he wants some money, and then you get to find like a next level up, not the Penguin himself, but like a next level up, like a higher hitman that works for Penguin or something, or and you could develop characters then as well, and you could focus time and dedication to building different characters, like you said, Bane, Calendar Man, Penguin, Joker, Scarecrow, because he's got so many villains. There's so many different ways you could go with it. That's what I'd like to see, is a bit more interactive and a bit more of a descriptive story, is probably the best way I could put it.
Yeah, I think that would be really quite cool, actually, because then you could basically do what he does in the Arkham Knight and start to target things low down, because in Batman Begins, you could basically do that kind of storyline there, because in Batman Begins he busts a crime syndicate with the drugs, and then through that he finds out about Ra's al Ghul, and then you could do that kind of escalation in the storyline with that kind of game, as well as just going around stopping other random criminals from shooting people, or
But the thing with that is, I think, is not to overdo it. Like, I mean, I'm going back to Watch Dogs again. I mean, I love Watch Dogs. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But the thing is, like, you're driving around and then there's like, there's a crime happening. There's a crime happening. There's a crime happening. It's like every sort of, every like 5 or 10 minutes there's a crime happening, which is cool because it's a distraction from the main storyline and you don't have to do the crimes themselves. But, if they overdo it a bit too much, it might be a bit, this is getting a bit samey. But there's so many different things they can do to just keep it original. Don't go down the WCW route of, oh, Batman goes to beat up criminals and then it turns out it's a Joker at the end and he's using a mimic. Oh, great, okay, yeah. You know what I mean? Kind of things like that.
I know what you mean, yeah, because that's basically that's what I think. I don't think the Joker is in the next Arkham game, but I know what you mean, because if it's continuously the Joker, then it's a bit like what WCW's doing. It was doing, and what WWE's kind of doing now is it's constantly going to the well over and over and over again. And whilst the Joker is, I'd say, the Daniel Bryan of Batman villains.
Oh yeah.
In the end, people will still get sick of him. If it's basically every single time Batman's on screen, his main villain is always the Joker, and the Joker's always the biggest threat, it's just going to get boring, because it's like, we need
It's kind of samey.
It's like, imagine in 5 years' time, basically, WWE is still pushing just Daniel Bryan, because up to 2017 he was still white hot. But after that point, it's like, well, who's actually going to stop Daniel Bryan now? And they haven't pushed into the main event Kevin Owens or Finn Balor or
the new and exciting people
imagine
that
all
people.
those guys get pushed, and it's just Daniel Bryan head and shoulders above everybody else. You can't do that, and that's why it wouldn't work with the Joker. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of just like you said, going to the well too many times and starting to rehash the old storylines and stuff. So they tried to inject it a bit with Origins, with like the different villains and the Hitmen and everything else, which was cool. But ultimately, it all led back to the Joker. And I mean, it's like if you look at it in like a
different way than before, which I think is, I mean, that's the thing with the Joker is, in an odd way, you can do it, but just as long as you keep doing it originally. And so far, they've done it in 3 very original ways. And I'm starting to think the 4th time is really probably the last time. Really, they've done it as many times as they can without it getting boring. I think if it turns out it's all the Joker again in Arkham Knight, then yeah, that's gonna have overstayed its welcome, because in the first one, it's the Joker's plot from the very beginning to take control of the asylum. So yeah, that's cool. He's got himself caught deliberately so he can take control. And then in Arkham City, he's basically just one of the crime lords who takes advantage of the opportunity to become the main guy, and therefore he's still trying to find a cure, and that's how it works. And so it's still the Joker as the main guy in the end, but it's different. And in Arkham Origins, it's kind of like Vince McMahon. It was me all along, Austin. It's like the Joker's like, it was me all along, bats. And it's a different way again of making the Joker the top guy. But after that swerve, where do you go from there? So now is probably the right time to let the Joker go onto the back burner a bit.
It goes back to the steak and chips thing, which I think could become a recurring thing in this. Actually, the steak and chips. You've been fed it so many times, you get slightly bored of it after a 4th or 5th time. So that's why I'm hoping they'll try and branch out and do things maybe a little bit differently this time. Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with steak and chips. If you have steak and chips once a fortnight or once a month, it's okay. Like if the Joker's you can have the Joker the main villain, like 20 times, but so long as there's another villain in between, that's the top guy, and it's not just the Joker 20 times in a row, and it's the Joker like 20 times in 50 episodes. No, it's okay. It's not so bad that way.
Yeah, but again, just like you said, keep it different, keep things a little bit edgy, change around a few plot twists and stuff like that, and then maybe not gradually phase out the Joker, but maybe put him slightly down. I don't want to say down the ranks, but making him the main what's the word I'm looking for? Protagonist in every single game might start to get slightly boring. I mean, you're always going to get the Batman and Joker fanboys that are going to be like, oh, who was it in the end? Oh, Joker, yeah. But I mean, hardcore gamers are just going to be kind of like, okay, this is okay, I guess. I might not consider buying the next one now if they're going to do the same thing. So yeah, keep it different, maybe add some new characters, start building other characters, let them build up, and then you can start making an incredible series of games that will last for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, and it's basically like how they did it with the cartoon series, because like after every 2 or 3 episodes, there'd be another episode with the Joker again. And if you watched a cartoon series from, I can't remember the year, but if you follow that one when it was Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy voicing Batman and Joker, there would be an episode where the Joker was the main villain, like one in every 4 episodes, and nobody else. I can't remember any other villain actually getting that same level of exposure, but it was never unoriginal when it was the Joker, because it was always different, and plus you'd always have a couple of storylines where somebody else had taken center stage as well. So it made it a lot easier to swallow when it was the Joker's turn to come back again.
Add to the fact it's Mark Hamill.
Notification on Google. This might be this. Oh, hello.
What?
Commented on. Oh my God! Somebody actually commented on it, but we didn't miss. Oh no, it's somebody saying "shut up." Fair play.
Wow.
You suck. Stop. You are not a good singer. I know that's kind of the point. Stop.
Thank you.
Up.
Thank you, other person, for justifying what I was saying. Thank you so much.
I know, but I mean that's kind of the point.
Yeah, I mean it's like you know that other guy that commented on the last podcast. The wrestling videos suck. Stick to your gaming. It's like, yeah, it's UPW. That's the whole fucking point.
Yeah, I know, but at the same time, I can sing better than that. But just, it's not easy to sing when you're basically giggling the whole way through the episode.
I take no responsibility for that.
Okay, that is quite funny though, actually, in fairness.
At least it's interaction. Bad press is good press.
Interaction, yeah. I mean, I'm not exactly going to say I'm a good singer, so never mind. There you go, that's another episode of UPW where somebody else is being pissed off. That's good. And it says something else, actually, about... There was another somebody here. For some reason, I really want... oh, yeah, that's my comment about... I wanted it to... Uptown Funk to make it to 10 weeks at #1.
Yeah.
Never mind, that's not related to this episode. We're at 2 hours now, though, and we've pissed somebody off, but they commented 4 times!
Well, 4 times telling you to shut up.
Yeah, 4 separate comments about how much I'm pissing him off.
That's good, at least it's interactive. At least
Controversy!
This is good.
It's controversy, I guess.
In a weird kind of detrimental way, yeah. And like I said, any press is...
In a very negative publicity way, it's controversy.
At least it's publicity. At least people are actually starting to watch now. That's the main thing.
That's the point. But the thing that slightly baffled me about that is the comment hasn't popped up in the stream because I'm following my stream on YouTube. His comments didn't pop up there, and I haven't seen his comments pop up in the comment tracker on the Google Hangout either. So I need to try and work this out, because something's not quite twigging here.
Yeah, it needs a tweak.
Somebody has left comments, and yet I can't see them. It's not in the chat either, because that's just between us. So I'm not really sure. I really don't know what's going on there. I don't know why we didn't see those comments when it came up, which is what I'm starting to wonder.
At least it's interaction. I will give credit for interaction, and it's a sign.
To be fair though, that was completely impromptu.
It's good. It's interaction. It means we're getting out there slightly.
And to be fair though, the singing Bray Wyatt's theme, in all honesty, that really wasn't singing. That was basically trying not to laugh. That singing that you cannot call that singing. Then again, you can't exactly call my Edge of Night cover decent anyway either. That didn't come out very well. You weren't here for that. That wasn't very good either.
I didn't want to say anything, but yeah, it wasn't a great render, to be honest. Although I'm not taking anything away from you because I can't sing any better. So.
Oh, you mean in the original video?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't a great cover, but at least you tried.
Yeah.
It's all about the taking part that counts.
In fairness, I'd heard him perform it live, quite similar to that, but again, it's just my singing voice. Stupid thing is, though, I used to be able to sing. Actually, not bad. Really quite well, but not anymore.
I don't even attempt to sing because I'm a terrible singer. Apart from my rendition of Yesterday, which I will give you face-to-face one time. I'm not going to sing it over a podcast because that's just ridiculous. Because then we'll just get even more comments of just shut up.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You know what? I'm going to go full hog here, and I'm going to try and sing the chorus for Monster because that is fucking hilarious when I try and do that. If I try and do it like properly, it sounds horrible because you know the bit because he's singing like in the normal tone, and then all of a sudden he goes like higher up when he goes. What is it? Only a man with a. And then when he sings Candle, it goes higher up.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, when you try and sing that, it sounds terrible because it goes a bit like this. I'm only a man with a candle to get. You see what I mean? And you end up, and it's like, but if you sing the chorus, the verse before that, because you try and sing that in like the normal voice, so you can kind of do the verse kind of easily, but then it gets to the point where you have to do the chorus, which is in a slightly higher key. So it goes, this problem lies in me. I'm only a man with, and got to go up again with a candle to get, and it just gets squeaky. It sucks.
Sounds like somebody's strangling a cat. No offense.
Yes, I know, right? It's terrible.
But then you're
It's
not a
such
professional singer.
difficult
So.
song to sing.
You're not a professional singer, and you're not a professional wrestler, and neither am I. So, in fairness,
No, I'm definitely not a professional singer.
at least you try. At least you try.
Well, I don't know. Maybe with voice coaching I might be alright, but
Possibly.
maybe. You never know. Stuff can be taught.
Unless you just start singing screamo, because that's easy. All you have to do is go, oh, like that.
Yeah. This is for brother. I can't do that actually because I can't scream.
Probably
I
just,
can't even sing screamo. I suck.
that's probably for the best, to be honest.
Shit! I forgot. I'm supposed to win the X Factor this year. Fucking
Oh yeah, how's that
cool.
coming along?
Not very well. I forgot to submit my application for auditions.
I think you would end up on the worst auditions of all time. And I mean, so would I, in fairness.
Yeah, but it would be fucking amazing if I turned up on the X Factor and started going, catching flies in his mouth. Can you imagine that? That'd be bloody amazing. Although I'm
think
not
it'd be
really
better.
sure what I would sing, that's the only thing.
It'd be better if you did Monster, because I could just imagine Simon's face when you go, I'm only a man with a girl. He'd just be like, oh, God.
And then I'd start going, I'm a monster, I turned into a monster. And then just running out of voice because it's all in one breath.
I can imagine they would call security quite quickly.
Oh, you know what though? I'd just go on there and sing some sort of wrestling theme as a piss take. I probably wouldn't sing. Although something deep down inside me would love to sing Bray Wyatt's. I just wouldn't do that. I'd
No,
probably go on and sing something worse than that. I'd go up and sing Buff Bagwell's theme song. I'd be on the stage going, Buff, daddy, Buff, the stuff and the girls just can't get enough. Buff, Buff Daddy. Can you imagine that? Somebody on the X Factor singing that.
I can't imagine the judges would have ever heard of that song, to be honest.
No, better yet, go up there and sing. You're in my way, and I haven't got the time today.
They might have heard of that one, I suppose, because Blue Smock Nancy technically are a band. So.
Jesus, I just realised something. I just got blasted for singing terribly, and I've just spent, I think, about 6 minutes singing terribly about my plan to sing terribly on the X Factor.
It's all about giving back to the fans.
Yeah, giving them exactly what they don't want to hear. You're welcome.
That's the whole point, though, isn't it?
Oh well, look, I'm not I'm not pretending I'm good. I wasn't even pretending I was good when I was singing earlier on in the podcast, anyway.
True, at least you're
And
honest
plus, if you're
about it.
not watching it live, you can skip it also.
Yeah, exactly. They can always skip through it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I might put that in the description. Warning: there is very terrible singing due to need for filler.
Due to a toilet break, yeah.
And plus, I saw the opportunity to piss you off again.
It's all about fan interaction.
In fairness, though, with the Bray Wyatt thing, right? It's not so much that I talk about Bray Wyatt. If anything, I talk about people like Sting and Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens more. It's just the fact that I cannot get bored of that theme song. That's
the thing is, I can. That's the trouble.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm quite lucky like that. I can just listen to something like fucking millions of times and not get bored.
Well, the only theme there's a few themes I don't get bored of that I can listen to over and over again, but there's only really a select few. It's like, I can't just listen to the same one over and over again. I mean, the only one I think that gets repeated the most is I use it Blue Smock Nancy. That's probably my favourite one. Or the Kill Steen Kill version's better. Somebody get Jim Cornette. I think he might be mad at me. I think I should sing that on the X Factor if I ever went on.
But turn this whole company into a tragedy. Yeah.
they'd be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. What would if I were to go on the X Factor? I know this is an impromptu topic. We're gonna have to end this thing soon. Oh, what would I sing? Just like
What would we
something
sing?
completely just something original that nobody else sings. Because you always get people going on there and singing like, "I'm all about that bass, and 'cause I'm happy, come along if you feel." You get people singing that all the time.
Yeah, you get Westlife and
Yeah, it's always the same thing. It's always, can you feel the love tonight? Because it's Elton John, and everybody thinks it's a great song. It shows off my vocal range. Great, but it's really unoriginal now.
yeah, everybody's heard that one so many times now.
What's the other one that they always sing? They always get a powerful female vocalist on live shows, and they always have to sing Whitney Houston. And I will always love you. It's they always make them do that. They always make them do that thing where they go ooh, and trying to sound impressive by having them change the lyric halfway through the lyric.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, could you not do that again, because that really hurt my fucking eardrums?
Well, I'm not going to, but I'm just proving the point. They always do that. They'll always do that. So have somebody come out and sing something different, like Aerosmith or something.
I'm back in the saddle again. Yeah, that'd be a good one, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Something different. Or I like Love in an Elevator. That's a good one. 'Cause you got love in an elevator, living it up when we're going down. Yeah, that's a good one. Or you know,
actually, like I think the one I would sing, I'd just come out and start going, ma. They'd be like, what?
oh yeah, that'd be perfect. You're just there going, ma, because you could sing Smudge as well, because you can sing Smudge's name.
Yeah.
Smudge. And then they're just like, okay, this is interesting. They haven't voted you, they haven't stopped you from singing yet, and then all of a sudden it just pops in with that main riff. There's no, and then you come out and really go for it and go, there's no holding me back, and then you like fucking get angry with your fingers, you know. You go, there's no holding me back, you motherfuckers, and then you get angry about it. And then you actually look like you're about to murder your family, so that'd be perfect.
Sweet. No, I'd actually like to get like halfway through the song, just run and dive over and put Simon Cowell in a crossface. And like, well, it used to be like the spot with the referees, it'd take like 4 security guards, and I'm just there going like that. Just onto his face.
Yeah, I know. You're just there singing. I'm different and you're not mine. And then obviously Simon Cowell just does that thing where he goes, stop him, and then you just think, you motherfucker, and then just give him a package pile driver. That'd be amazing.
By the way, like I said to you before, I've been looking at the package pile drivers. I think they are executable. We had the wrong technique, definitely. But yeah, they are definitely do it. Although I would think we're going to have to need gloves to do it for the grip. But essentially, it's just the elevation. Once you get the elevation right and you can hold them, then that's it, basically.
Then you can sit back, yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly easy one, to be honest.
Yeah, that'd be. I'd love to see that though. Somebody just go on there and just sing a wrestling theme song. Can you imagine somebody going on there and singing Chris Jericho's theme song? That'd be quite funny. Just coming up, break the wall down, break down for the. You know, that'd be perfect. Or Shawn Michaels, because that'd be quite funny, because that's just such a vain song, isn't it? Because you just go, I think I'm cute, dun, 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 I know I'm sexy. That'd be. I could just imagine, because it would actually be funnier on The Voice, because The Voice generally only brings in good vocalists. So if you had somebody come in and actually sing that really well, it'd be quite funny.
No, I think that would be a good one to try. The other one I wanted to do was big shows as well, because that'd be easy. Well, it's a big show. They'd be like, what the fuck is this guy on about?
Yeah. In fairness, you know, the thing I do find with Bray Wyatt's theme song though is out of all the wrestling themes I've heard, it is one of the most difficult to sing, because it's sung so because it's like the technicalities of it is it's sung so flatly to sort of sound out of key, and yet when you try and sing it out of key, it just sounds shit, and it doesn't sound anything like it. It's like, but it's sung out of key. How does this work? I'm singing it out of key and I don't sound decent.
Actually, no, I think I know the one I would sing. It's just I'd have to bring in a boombox to bring in the actual music behind it, but it would just be bum 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 bum. They want to talk. What they talking about?
I would love to see that. I
That'd
just
be
love
brilliant.
it if we just went on to the X Factor and did a duet.
But then at the end, we'd have to finish with a.
Yeah, just like like have the intro going ba 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 ba, and we just like look at each other and just go yeah, that would be fucking amazing.
I don't think we'd be winning that year. Put it that way.
No, we wouldn't. Or I don't know, just or if we could somehow find a way to like beatbox Finn Balor's theme song.
That could work.
That might work, yeah, I don't know. If you were on Britain's Got Talent, actually, that would probably work better. Beatboxing Balor's theme song, or Kane's.
Kane's, yeah, that would work. That's it. Well, see, Kane's old one, I suppose you could do it with. You know,
Oh, yeah, 'cause it does have...
it comes around. That one.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah. I want a table turned around and back again. Yeah, I suppose that could work.
I don't know. The only other one I was thinking of was, God, was it? Hulk Hogan's American Made, not his original one, the American Made, the WCW one. He's American Made.
Yeah.
Because I've listened to that one quite a few times. He's got the red, white, and blue running through his veins.
What amazes me about that, though, was TNA was actually able to afford the rights to that song, so they could use it for a best when Hogan joined them.
Yeah, I think that's because it was an independent song, wasn't it? It wasn't composed by WCW or anybody. That's his song by a band.
I was thinking of doing like another time is like best actual wrestling song, and the proviso on that would be not outsourced music. So Bray Wyatt's theme song wouldn't count because that's outsourced.
Yeah. No, that could be an interesting one for future host pros.
Yeah, I was thinking that. As for this host pro, I think we're basically dried up. The well has dried up. It's 2.25 hours long, so it's almost exactly half the length of the last episode. But then again, that's good because I think that's a tight. And everybody loves it when things are tighter. So.
Well, that's true.
Yes. So I don't know. I'm happy to say, rather than continue singing badly to our public and lose all 619 subscribers, I say, save that for the X Factor and then promote the YouTube. Just whip out a sign saying YouTube channel this and hope they don't blur it out on TV.
Yeah, that could be an idea. Keep your eyes peeled for X Factor 2015.
Yeah, just try and promote UPW. Yeah, no, that's what you do. You go on Britain's Got Talent and do UPW on Britain's Got Talent. That's what you do.
That could be interesting.
That could be interesting. We are about to perform the most dangerous move ever done in UPW history. We are going to go to the top of this 20-foot ladder, and we are going to do a package pile driver off of it.
Yeah,
Of course, you had the problem is, right, so you're going to go to live shows, now what do you do?
Yeah.
Fuck, we've got to just pull out our big move to get through. We are going to do a package pile driver 50 foot off the stage!
Through a table. Let's get somebody set up.
What are you going to do? Package pile driver 50 foot off the stage through 3 tables!
Oh, is this what are you going to do next after the first package pile driver? Maybe get into an ambulance or something?
What comes next? The promo from hospital.
Ryback rules.
Yeah. Oh, no. That's what happens. You just go on there, you do a package pile driver. One of us doesn't get up, the other guy just gets up and goes, that was it. What do you think? It was just one move. Like, what comes next? A Z-pack for him.
Oh, just what do you think comes next? What are you, blind? Jesus.
Yeah, what are you, blind? Jesus. There's so many more moves we could do. Although that said, thinking about Z-packs, I so wanted to get one for you for your birthday. Problem is, Problem is, there is a slight issue with getting you Z-Pack for your birthday present, because I could just imagine the look on your face as you opened it up and it's a Z-Pack. Problem with that is, it's a big fundamental flaw in my plan. You need a prescription to buy a Z-Pack.
Yeah, and you also need a staph infection as well.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking about coming up to you one day at work and going, Marcus, have you got any like outstanding prescriptions that could require like serious medication? And then and if so, can you just give it to me so I could go and get you your medicine? I feel like doing you a favor. And then all of a sudden turning up on your birthday with like a big box, like big enough for it to be like, say, a PlayStation or something, and then just inside just a tiny thing of Z-Pack.
Or like a whole box full of Z-Packs. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I just nick like a moving box and just put a single Z-Pack in it.
See, that would have been good because I can just say, like, I can be like at work and I can just go, like, Rod, I need to go home. Why? Well, I've shit myself. Oh, you can't say shit yourself. No. This poop ain't fun anymore.
Oh, dude, somebody's just given us a second like.
A second like?
That's awesome. We hung out. Yeah, we've got 2 likes now on the broadcast.
I think that's probably
just long enough to get a separate like. I say that's a high point. We end there.
Yes,
Shall we-
2 likes. Very good. And 4 comments.
Let's do the outro. Thank you very much, everybody who's watched this episode, the controversial episode where we discussed. If you want to go back, if you skip through anything and you've missed a whole topics discussed were if you're drunk, is it rape? We've discussed the legalization of weed, 3 things to save WCW in the year 2000 by basically building the foundations in 1998. We've also discussed. I've also run through a technical specification of the Ferrari 488 GTB with some pictures on your screen, and we finished off with some talk about Batman Arkham Knight and our basic fantasy Batman game, which we would love to see. But for now, and also we sung badly to you. Sorry about that.
Oh, mine wasn't bad. Mine was pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Come on, it's not that bad. It can't be worse than you. Catching flies.
Yeah, but I was laughing too much. That's not fair. Okay, right. I apologise for singing Bray Wyatt's theme song at everybody. Okay.
There we go. An apology.
Apologise. Yeah. Okay.
You
Sorry.
will like it.
My bad. I'm not gonna like it.
I apologise, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. So yeah, my bad on that one. But other than that, it's bye from me and bye from Marcus. We will hopefully see you again on Host Pro 2.0 episode 3. Hope to see you guys there. Have a good week.